Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the war movie review podcast. We're happy to have you with us as we take a look at films from the dawn of cinema to today. We aim to provide a raw and unapologetic review of each film's cinematography, historical accuracy, and delivery. In the process of analysis, certain details will be revealed. These spoilers are only divulged to ensure a fair assessment of each film. We head back to the Hindu Kush this week with not only our first Soviet-Afghan war film, but also our first requested film, Kevin Reynolds' 1988 war drama, The Beast. Nick P. contacted us via our Facebook page, inquiring if we had heard of this film and if we would be interested in reviewing it. So thanks for your suggestion, Nick. And also, if anybody has a suggestion for a film that they want us to review, feel free to hit us up on our Facebook or Instagram pages. We'd definitely like to fit it to our schedule if it works and if it's applicable to the podcast. Anyway, moving on. As always, I'm joined by Mike A. Mike B.
Hey.
Oh, I was about to burp, but yes, hey.
Nate.
I dedicate my $3.99 to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan. And I ran out of fucking breath because I was laughing at Mike B. Fucking like.
I'm very glad I showed that to you.
And our resident Russian and Roman historian, Sean. Thanks for joining us again.
How are you? Good to be back on.
Yeah. So Sean knows a little bit about Russian tanks and stuff because I think he's been in all of them.
This is the Soviet-Afghan War is a side passion of mine. It's I'm very fascinated by this war. I was a reenactor of Soviet-Afghan for quite some time. I have a lot of this gear. I've been in a lot of these tanks, so I'm glad to be on.
Well, before each of us really start giving our opinions on this, I am, of course, as someone who like you say is really into this stuff, kind of like what we did with the Centurion. Sean, what are your thoughts on this movie? Because this movie is pretty popular, even though it's popular today. Like, it has kind of a cult following. I think I've heard people say this is like the Das Boot of tank movies. Tell me, give us your thoughts.
The first time I watched this movie, it was a couple of years ago. It was on Brian's Amazon Prime. And I got about halfway through it, and I was like, I don't like this movie. I'm fucking turning this shit off. I know how it's going to end. Like, I could foresee the end.
You smell it.
And then a couple of years go by, and Brian mentioned this movie, and I was like, oh, I've seen that movie. Like, here's the dumbest fucking dialogue you've ever heard, and it comes directly from the movie. You probably know what line I'm talking about.
All of them?
And I watched it again yesterday, and there was parts that I liked, but it was far outweighed by the parts that I just don't like. And overall, I just don't get what the movie's about at the end of the day. Like, I'm left with this, like, what the fuck was the point of that?
Well,
here's I don't really care for it anymore.
Here's the interesting thing. Like, when I was watching it, I'm like, holy fucking shit, this is Casualties of War. Like, I mean, if you've seen the movie, which actually came out. Yes, Mike?
Not really.
Yes, really.
Well, I would say this is more exaggerated than that one.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here I'm gonna get Casualties of War is definitely more of a slow burn when it comes to it, but it's kind of the same thing. It's about like this group of soldiers. Well, one of the actors is in both movies. I forgot the guy's name. He's he's the gunner in this movie. But he's one of the squad guys in Casualties of War, and he plays the exact same fucking character in that movie that he does in this movie.
A drunk.
Yeah, he's like the huge asshole in the but. It's kind of the same thing where it's like this psycho, like, who's leading these soldiers, to do with all this psychotic horse shit. And then there's like the one guy who's, the main character, the protagonist, who's really against it, who's going to rise up against him. It's exactly Casualties of War. And of course, there's the poor civilians that are caught in all of it and shit like that. It's Casualties of War. So
I've actually never seen that, so.
We'll have to do that. We'll have to do that. I actually suggested that a while back, but we're gonna have to do that one because
it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, same here.
I
remember even back in the day, I was like,
so it's interesting, but
I was like,
you know what?
Kind of like how I say that Fury is just Saving Private Ryan, but in a tank. It's like this is just the Casualties of War, but Russians in a tank.
I saw a lot of Fury in this actually as I watched it.
Oh, I'm not
like a lot of the
surprised by
shots
that,
and stuff. No, well, this is really the first time I sat down and really watched it. And just to give my 2 cents. So first time I heard about this was I volunteered at a museum when I was like in middle school, actually with Sean. I dragged him into it. You're welcome. And,
Poor fucker.
you know,
And my life has been worse off ever since.
it really has. Yeah. Son of a bitch. But what do you call it? So yeah, the director of the museum at the time, who we'll eventually have on here, he had, told me about the film and stuff. And I was like, I watched it and whatever, and the more I learned about Afghan war and like Soviet-Afghan war stuff, the more I was like, wow, this really isn't good. And rewatching it, it was like, oh yeah, this is a movie about
This
everything.
is a fucking trash fire. That's what it is.
It's such, it's very much.
Sorry to derail you. It's not fucking Hyena Road.
No, you have the talking pillow.
Hurt Locker. I actually enjoyed it as a 1980s movie, but it's a fucking trash fire. Sorry, I derailed you.
So does anybody know what other movies this director did?
No.
He did
but
Red
I bet
Dawn,
you
I
as soon as
Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Really?
He did Red Dawn. And Brian, he also did Waterworld. I'll have you know.
Yes, I'd rather watch Waterworld.
No, scratch the
That's
the fury. I had some real Waterworld vibes from this. Yeah, I had some real Waterworld vibes for this. Poisoning the water. It's all connected.
The Hunt for Red October. But
Yeah.
Waterworld.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll start off like for those of you who don't know about the Soviet-Afghan War, it was from basically December 1979 to January 1989. It's a bit of a convoluted story how the Soviets ended up there. Essentially, there was a communist regime that took over in Afghanistan in 1978. Brutally repressed the former regime, which was kind of like this military dictatorship. They took over and they then tried to enforce a sort of radical communism on the radical Islam of Afghanistan, the conservatives of Afghanistan, and it blew up in their faces. Basically owned Kabul and the major cities, and that was it. So the Soviets decided that they were going to send troops to intervene in Afghanistan, and they were going to be in there for 6 months. They're going to prop up the regime. We're going to train up the Afghan army. We'll be done in 6 months. It'll be great. Cue 9 years of bloody, pointless war. Stop me if you've heard that one before with Afghanistan, but that was the plan. And they actually end up, there was the leader, Amin, was the president, the communist president of Afghanistan. This KGB actually stormed his palace and assassinated him. And it's one of the more well-known things about this war.
Didn't they try to kill him a bunch of times?
Yeah,
the Coca-Cola story.
Yeah, they poisoned his Coca-Cola with like this special KGB poison, and like apparently the carbonation like neutralized the poison, so they didn't kill him. And then they poisoned his soup, which did poison him. But then he had some Soviet doctors that worked for him that had been sent to the Soviet aid. The Soviets were basically sending arms to the Afghan army and like advisors to build the country and everything. Oh, it was because we're going to make it a kind of client state. And the Soviet doctors didn't know they were trying to kill Amin, so they saved his life. They thought he was died of like food poisoning, and they saved his life. So then they're like, all right, well now we have to do this the hard way, and we'll kill him. They essentially dressed up. They sent like 60 Spetsnaz troops into this palace, this heavily fortified palace, dressed in Afghan army uniforms. So they kind of got in until by the time everyone realized what was happening, they stormed the palace. Shot Amin and his son. He was holding his son as they gunned him down, and then they tossed a bunch of frag grenades on his body. And that's how he died. And so then they replaced it with their own communist president that was more agreeable to Moscow. And then that 6-month occupation turned into a 9-year war, which many different factions got involved in supplying weapons to the Mujahideen. And it was all in the end just a pointless slog where 15,000 Soviet troops died. About 1 million Afghans are expected to have died in this conflict. And it's important to know it's kind of gotten brought to light more these days because everyone's kind of wondering, well, how did Afghanistan get like this? You have to start with the Soviet-Afghan War because after the Soviets pull out, immediately it just becomes this war between all the warlords that have sprung up during the war, and the Taliban ultimately take over. And that's how we get to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan. So I think this is a very important war for people to study and try to understand because it's almost beat for beat. We made almost the exact same mistakes when we were in Afghanistan. So.
Literally.
Yeah.
And
literally.
Do we learn about any of that stuff with this movie?
No. Ultimately,
take a left turn, not right turn.
Ultimately,
left turn,
no. You don't.
Not right turn.
So
you learn nothing other than Soviets are brutal and destroyed villages with repression, which didn't happen, but I
Wearing
don't know
gas
why they
masks.
we have to have them use chemical warfare and poison the water too. Like what? Why?
It just-
what is the point?
It just felt like this is 1988, so fall of the Soviet Union.
This is
It's-
88. Everybody knew. This is when
the movie came out.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, so like it's just like I went back, like I watched this. I'm like, okay, look, when was this made? Okay, before the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay, this makes tons of sense. And at first I was like, why is everyone? I was like, oh, okay, I hear Arabic, so maybe we're actually gonna have like full on Russian. Nope. English,
That's what
American,
That's what I
Pashto,
thought.
actually.
Actually,
American
too, yeah.
English speaking actors through the whole entire fucking thing, but you have guys speaking fluent Arabic. Why the fuck can't you have Russians?
They're not. It's
because-
not Arabic, but
Well,
Pashto.
sorry, I am not knowledgeable in this area whatsoever. So
Yeah.
They're
How
spe-
insensitive,
They're
yeah.
speaking Middle East.
We can
yeah.
tell.
Yeah. Speaking Afghani, I don't.
They
know.
took a left on
Yeah.
Burger Turker
No.
Street.
It's a Pashtun. The language is Pashtun, Nathan. What are you not understanding?
Anyway,
So,
my point is, it's like, I was like so confused by that, and I was like, why the fuck? Oh, it's an American film.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
that's the thing, it's
Soviet
like, you have
Union
to-
bad, Russians
it's,
awful.
It's like the sequel to Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
it's funny with American movies like this. Like, usually the protagonists or something will always, whatever country they're supposed to be from will be American. But if there is like another party that's, like quote the enemy or something like that, then they'll have it be in their other language. you know?
Yeah.
So,
It-
but yeah, no, I would have done it straight up in Russian.
I just it's like you go the full mile, and it's like why are you stopping there? But anyway, I mean, how do I describe it? It felt like B-rated Rambo 3.
That's a way
That
to
doesn't
put it.
hold it very high, though.
It's very
Rambo
a product
3.
of its late. It's very much a product of
Rambo
late
1.
'80s, early '90s, like production values and everything.
Hold
and,
on, shit.
just audio
Hold on.
and things.
When did Rambo 3 come out? Rambo 3.
I think
I think
'87.
90.
For some reason, I was it that
I
late?
think so. Nope, 1988,
still-
same year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
80.
My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So
Rambo
that's
3 inspired this movie.
yeah.
Mike, you've kind of been quiet.
well, I'm just observing and like, yeah, it's I have a lot of notes here.
Oh,
Oh,
He's
God.
gathering
Right.
ammunition.
well,
to use
I
You,
look.
you guys have touched on some of them, but like
I very lightly
Yeah.
scratched the surface. I mean, go for it. Why
Yeah, I have.
don't
a
you
list here
start
as
the
well,
list, and you're probably
so-
gonna jump start the Jamie, look it up. Jamie, look it up.
well, this isn't on the list, but like
We needed a Jamie.
I just commented to Brian like they can't even get the fucking title card like with the quote from Rudyard Kipling. They can't get that centered. Like really, they can't get it centered.
I like the Kipling quote, but yeah. they
Sure,
couldn't
but
get it
like
centered.
you're not gonna center that fucker. You're gonna make it whatever. Okay.
Oh, dude, the
Whatever,
most
artistic.
dangerous weapon the whole Soviet-Afghan war are the women with stones. All right, are you kidding me?
Apparently so.
We'll,
yeah.
we'll get there.
I-
I'm saying like
well,
at the
yeah,
beginning of the film,
Stingers, blowpipes,
It's
women.
like-
you can't
Woman
you
with
can't
rock.
fucking center your fucking main like
No.
quote that you're trying to impact people with, right? Okay, oh blah blah blah. Okay, and then again, stock 60s through 70s sound effects. You can't have anything else besides that. There were a couple that were sporadically throughout, but like no, it's the tank sound effects. Also,
Yeah.
so
Which
so
are real T-54s. It's interesting.
no,
Sorry to cut you off. Mike.
but yeah, no. So we're
with license plates.
because I have a question for you, Sean. Is like, I don't know Soviet doctrine and like their kind of way that they did things in the Soviet-Afghan War. I know the bare fucking minimum. Don't know anything more than that. So 5 tanks, a platoon of tanks, right? I would assume a platoon is the same as like in the U.S. and Germany and whatever. 5 tanks is a platoon, right?
Yes.
If you're going into a village to clear it out, where the fuck is the infantry?
And why do you get out of the tank at all?
Well, no, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get
Where
there.
do you fit the RPG?
We're gonna get
Yeah,
there,
where do you-
Sean. We're gonna get there, Sean. Where the fuck is the infantry?
Yeah, there would be a attached infantry, motorized infantry squad in either BTRs or BMPs. There would be
Okay.
5 of them, which is like I think you could fit fucking 10 guys in that thing.
Right. So I'm
If
not
you
out of my
pile on
fucking
top.
mind by wondering
Where
where
are
the
they?
infantry
Yeah.
is. Right. Okay.
Because the script needs to happen, so the infantry
Sure.
isn't around.
So that was the first question. And then that actually, what you just said is down on my notes because I noticed it because there were so many things going on that I was just like, what the fuck?
Or tanks
when I-
with the insides bigger than my first apartment. That was also very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like Fury. You
it's
know?
like if I could feel like
Fucking
my ass would
huge.
fit in there, it's probably not realistic. Like,
They're
yeah.
cramped. So these are
Go ahead, Sean.
on the topic of the tanks. They are actually Israeli T-55s.
Yeah.
They're all the gear and the shit in this movie. It was captured in the Yom Kippur War, and those T-55s they're using actually have Centurion guns in them from the Centurion tank. They're British guns. They're not the Russian guns. Because Israelis
Oh, the
captured a
hump.
fuck ton of them, and
Yeah.
they refitted them to use the gun that they knew and the ammunition that they can get. And that's why. And this was filmed in Israel. So that's why they have a bunch of. That's why they were able to get all this shit. It's all captured gear from the Yom Kippur War. Which is why you see. I think they like one of the. Mujahideen has an Israeli FAL at one point.
Well, again, we're gonna get
Yeah, I
there.
did see
yes.
the FAL.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
It's a heavy barrel, by the way. So,
Oh.
but yeah, that's one of the notes that I wrote in there. Okay. So I'll just go down a couple more notes, and then we'll get to the whatever. So I was asking why they GP5 gas masks, right? Oh, and then I was like, oh, the implied chemical grenade that they drop out of the bottom of the fucking tank of the driver's hatch, and it's like,
They were wearing them before that, though.
no, I know that, but like, so why are they wearing those? And then they drop the chemical grenade. Like they knew this was gonna happen. Like what the fuck is going on? Like
Because gas masks look imposing.
yeah, they
so
look
have to
imposing.
wear
Yeah,
them
exactly.
While
And it's
they're-
like
while they're in the tank. It's
yeah. You're not gonna be sweating fucking spinal fluid while you're wearing those fucking things.
yeah.
You know, like
They are good with dust, so you could have one guy technically of the whole platoon maybe wearing one.
Oh, no.
so
for half
Dude,
of a second.
GP5
you
are
see
horrible.
them.
They're horrible.
Yeah,
Again-
the GP5 is the civilian one. Those, I believe, are actually the military issued ones, which are SSH. I don't know, what are they? They're something 41M, but they're the army issued ones. The GP5s have like the tiny little filter that goes
yeah.
in front of your face.
I have one, yeah.
The military ones kind of have that hose that fits down. It's like almost like a World War One.
Yeah, they're
British
basically the
gas mask.
same. Yeah,
So that's it is the military one. Yeah, why the fuck would you want to wear that at all? Like Jesus Christ,
Especially in the
hot
fucking
and
tank.
disgusted in the tank. You see a lot in the war. You see guys who would like cut off the bottoms and use them as goggles, like on vehicles. You see that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, why the fuck would you
Oh,
just
that's
wear?
right. Yeah.
Well, then my
Yeah.
next note
So-
was immediately we're going into this really quick, Brian. Is yeah,
Yeah.
tankers are not going to dismount and take over an entire fucking village acting as infantry, including their fucking driver.
There's the classic rule for military tactics and stuff is tanks can't hold ground. Infantry holds ground.
Right.
Tanks are support units. So
Yep.
But I was gonna say quick while we're on the whole idea of the interior of the tank is that Sean, you've been in a tank while it's running, right?
It
Yeah.
is so loud.
How fucking loud is it?
It is
Yeah.
so
Can-
loud. You
can you hear
need the
yourself
intercom
think?
system to
No.
talk. It is
Yeah.
so loud. It's unbelievable.
They're having
loud.
like casual conversations at points.
Yeah,
like
that's-
in the background they're driving.
You can
and
say
it's
what you want
like,
about
no
Fury, but at
way.
least they were talking on the mics. It is
Yeah.
so loud.
Well, they
when
also
you
do this
get
with
this.
infantry.
And those are like earmuffs you're wearing too. The tank helmet. When you
Yeah.
have it on.
To get with
Yeah.
that, I've been in a tank as well. Like I know how fucking loud it is, and also
Yeah.
I know how loud it is to like be on the ground, like when guns are firing off and your fucking ears are ringing. And in these
Oh, yeah.
movies, they all just have casual conversations like, "Hey, you need to get you guys over to that ridge." It's like, no,
It'd be like
no, you're not going to just talk to each other.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So this is a lot,
Merch!
but it's a film thing. It's a film thing. I get that,
Mm-hmm.
but like, how do you portray that? Like, I don't know, but whatever.
I mean,
there-
there are ways. There's ways to depict anything. It's just how you decide to do it. And unfortunately, in most cases, directors want to, take the shortcut because it's easier.
Yep.
That's just it.
Packs of man-eating
There
dogs.
was-
Yep.
Yeah.
There was one good
The
scene.
shortcut is a good way to describe this movie.
There was one good scene towards the beginning where like one of the actors, the Soviet tankers, was like caught off guard by a guy shooting AK in the air.
Yeah.
And you could see him turn and look around like, what the fuck? I thought I liked that because that was
He
real.
genuinely
you know?
blew his
like
ears
fucking
out. Yeah.
Literally, yeah, that was
that was
bad
not
muzzle
acting, yeah.
control and like.
You want to talk about
yeah,
the recoilless
so-
rifle in that scene? That
Oh.
Is that the Chinese one?
it is a
Yeah.
Chinese one, but it like
Yeah.
almost falls over when
Like,
they fire.
he would totally destroy that fucking tank. Holy shit.
Yeah, he would have done some damage to it. But
Yeah.
like, it's called a recoilless rifle because it doesn't move when you fire it. Like, why does it move?
It's a
I
cannon.
don't know
Oh,
what that word means.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, they just,
And the-
I don't know.
The fucking music was wrong.
think that's
the
the-
fucking music was
They
wrong.
think that's the manufacturer of it, recoilless.
Yeah.
Recoil.
Me and Sean-
It's French.
Yeah.
Me and Sean have a mutual friend who was actually a Soviet-Afghan vet. He was there in 84 and 85. And he was like, we listened to Deep Purple. Like, we listened to ABBA. Like, we listened to, like, the stupidest shit we can get our hands on because it was Western. We listened to it. So, like, they're listening to Russian music,
Yeah,
which is like, no, that was a cultural thing where you listen to Western music. Like, there's a really good documentary about the Soviet-Afghan War called The Soviet-Afghan Experience. Like, they were British or Canadian, or I don't think they were from the U.S. But these filmmakers, they went to Afghanistan during the war and they filmed what was happening, and it's insane. But during this one like drive in a BTR, they're listening to "I'm Too Young to Die," fucking, and they're blaring it. And inside the tank or the BTR, they have like stickers of like Adidas and all this crazy shit. And this is 1986, 87. So that was the culture of the time.
This is
And that was-
before Glasnost too. You gotta remember, like I don't know if they'd be playing rock over the radio. Again, I wasn't for the Soviet Union in 1980, but I don't think they'd be playing like Soviet rock over the airways in the middle of this valley. You could pick it up. Like literally anything would have been better.
It would have been like, "Don't shoot at your new friends."
Yeah,
Like,
some classical music or some shit.
We went to a reenactment once, 48 Town Gap, and we got lost once in the training area, and we drove through this other training area, and like every half mile there were billboards. There was an area that were training troops to go to Afghanistan. It was all billboards, and they were like, "Listen to radio, free Kandahar," that kind of shit. So that's the only things that you're going to be listening to is all propaganda, not Kino.
Kino das bang bang boom boom. Yeah, sorry. That's a quote. That's a quote. That's
Well.
a quote for something. Never mind. I mean, look, I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to start. It's like I knew this was probably going to be bad just by the trailer I watched. And that's fine. It was just some of the directions that it went, and the fact that you said that it's Red Dawn's director explains everything. All the choices, all the way things were done, all the way people moved around and did things, like the cuts and the way to go about story, it all makes sense. And so I understand why there might be a cult following with this film, because it is different. It is completely different of the time when it was released. And by that I mean it's Soviet era focus primarily. It's Soviet. Even though I know it's westernized, but the point is, it's like if you think about when that came out at the time, it's like you have this very pivotal war, and then someone's taking this take on it of at least centralized around the tank. But I mean, that's just
what
me.
is the take? What is the take of this movie though?
Well,
I
wanna
don't
touch
know.
on
I'm just
what
saying.
Nathan's-
I can see it being different. I could see why there's a cult following with it, is what I'm trying to say. Do I understand the following? No, I don't. I think this movie's a piece of trash, and it was bad, but it was entertaining at least.
The biggest thing I learned from this podcast is you have to contextualize things, because it's easy to shit on stuff from afar, but like at least if you kind of understand it, you can see where they're going. So I kind of tried to approach this film in that way. There's a lot of films like since the Second World War that have been about tankers and tanks and stuff, like Patton, Battle of the Bulge, like these, some of the bigger battles. But when you're talking about like nitty gritty, like tanker on tanker inside the tank combat, there's really not a lot. Sahara is actually the first one with, Cary Grant and fucking Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
And 1943 and everything. And they're in the Lee in the desert and everything. That's really the first tanker movie, if you're going to be honest. Breakout or Breakthrough, I can't remember the name, but there was a 1950s one about the breakout from Normandy where it's like guys in M36 Jackson and they're fighting Panthers and stuff.
Is it called Spearhead? That movie you're thinking of?
And maybe it's Spearhead. Yeah, I thought it was Breakout, but a few of those older films they had different names. Kelly's Heroes that was probably the biggest, one at the time, because you're inside tanks. Like a lot of the shots I thought were from Kelly's Heroes, especially when they're on top of the turret and they're watching the gun move. Like that basically looks like the whole, what do you call it? Train station scene from Kelly's Heroes.
Barrel
And
POV.
a movie. Yeah. And the movie that came out 2 years before this about tankers that was like Kelly's Heroes. And it was very much like this, The Misfit Brigade, which was about these like German prisoners that were like actual prisoners, like criminals that were sent to the Eastern Front as tankers. And they had to do this crazy stuff and they were just expendables. And it had a lot of those vibes too. So those were the 4 films that were out about like nitty gritty tanker combat. And then this comes out. And I can kind of see why people were like, holy shit, this is the Das Boot of tanking, because of how like inside the tank they are and how gritty and how it's shot. And it's very much like the fury of its time, That being said, it's not good and everything is ill approached and stuff.
That being said, the dialogue is just awful. And
no, it's fucking bad.
It's just not great.
It's interesting when you compare it to those earlier films, because that's all that was out there as far as tanker and tanker combat and shit. So
yeah, unfortunately, it was like a huge flop, and I think when it came out, like it didn't get any like really any publicity or anything. This movie.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Well, so
it could be too, like somebody who wanted to do a Soviet-Afghan war, like you wanted to tell the story, but like when you think of the Soviet army, you think of their tanks. They're imposing tanks. Well, it's got to be in the tank. We'll do it in a tank. Like that's the great story. Like that's how we'll do it.
Apparently, it only had a very limited run, so that they can just like qualifying for awards or something.
And apparently,
so it was only like 1 or 2 nights.
Apparently, it's based on a play, and yeah, that's what I heard.
That must have been horrible.
Yeah, it's based on a play, and the guy who wrote the play wrote the screenplay for this.
Let's do the doubleheader: Stalingrad 17, the play, and then the Beast. The play.
It makes sense why there was a the tank turned is my penis joke. Okay, got it. Yeah, that was also.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking.
I
need a woman. Okay, dude. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like again, it makes me think that this movie is. It's 1980s. It's still in the 1980s era, and I was constantly trying to tell myself that as I was watching it. And it's like, okay, all right. Because, like, look, like, if I hate to keep comparing it to Rambo 3, but it's like, Rambo 3 is trash. It is. But it's Rambo, and I expect that, and I enjoy it. And I will still enjoy the shit out of it, because it's Rambo fucking 3. But I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is just trash. So, what do I
So
get
if we're
out
going to
of
make
it?
a series, we have to make the first couple good and then just make the rest trash.
Rambo 1
it
was...
sounds like
Rambo,
Hollywood nowadays.
Rambo 1
Marvel
is
movies.
amazing. Rambo 2 is garbage. Rambo 3 is just garbage, but with more muscles and steroids.
Muscle.
And
Garbage
that's
muscle.
garbage muscle, yeah. And more budget.
But think of all the memes of those sequels created.
Jesus.
It's a blue light. Turns blue.
It turns blue. Yes, and that's actually from that one. Good job, Mike.
What did you guys think of the? What did you guys think of the? Well, this. I mean, Sean already answered this, but like, what did you think of the M250 cals doctored up to be
Duck to be
Dishkas?
Dushkas? Yeah, I noticed that immediately.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that, yeah. It was...
The
one guy calls it a
they
Dashka.
forget about all the time, and then when he remembers it, it's convenently out of ammo.
Or when
Like-
he remembers
Right.
it, he's executing his own dude in the river. Wouldn't that like disintegrate him?
He's
Like,
a traitor.
It's
No,
it's
not
a 50
really.
caliber machine gun.
But
It'll do some damage.
But
Like
if you
he's
think
looking
about
it
it,
up.
but if you think of it like a dish, I was just thinking like if it actually was a Dishka, wouldn't that be so much lead even with that small little burst?
It's the
It's
same as a
51 caliber,
fucking-
not 50 caliber.
It also
Ooh.
looks like when they're driving the tank, at all times it looks like it's gonna go flying off the tank, like the thing's bopping around like it's an antenna.
Yeah, there's
like,
literally no fucking way to secure that thing. It's just.
The
But
site was right, but
you know, you had
the site was right, but I think in spite of it, because
Right.
they made a shitty
Right,
one.
yeah.
We'll
It was right, but it looked like
We'll
shit.
let Michael talk, and then
That
I'll
M2
go into some
probably-
stupid details.
Yeah, that M2 probably came with the Israeli tank because it was probably.
That's
used
what
by
I'm
the
saying. Yeah.
Israeli army.
That's
Then
why I
it was
said Sean
reused
already
in
addressed
Starship
this,
Troopers.
yeah.
Right, yeah. So they like screwed some like thing on the barrel to look like that.
There's
like,
electrical tape on this
very
bitch.
bad.
On over the
Really?
fucking. Oh, dude.
We'll get to it in IMFDB, but yeah.
Oh no, look at that. There's electrical tape over the fucking the front of the receiver, like where the barrel screws in. There's electrical tape
fuck.
around there to hide the fucking cooling holes. But
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So you see it now.
I have IMFDB pulled up and I'm looking. It's the first image, yeah, and it's like
Yeah, you see it. There's electrical tape. It's
around the
fun.
vent holes, yeah.
Oh, God.
So what's also cool about I don't want to disparage Star Wars, the original, because that was not.
I will,
because
because they cut up all the fucking Lewis guns, and that's why I
Hey,
can't find them.
Yeah.
Listen
fast.
here, penis.
Well, no,
that's
their
not
fans
why you can't
did.
find it. The Gun Control
as
Act of
bad.
'68 is why you can't find that. But anyway,
Star Wars.
so
Star Wars.
I don't want to disparage them because they use a bunch of random shit. However, they were not trying to portray a real fucking event. Now, I'm just curious, Sean. I'm going to ask you this directly. I'm very curious how Swedish model 1896 bandoliers ended up on the waists of these Muj guys.
They couldn't find the Enfield bandoliers.
Right.
So they
But
just,
no,
they
had 'em
just
over the
did that.
shoulders. They had them over the shoulders. Just not. They had the 1905 bandoliers over the shoulders, but they didn't have. What? What are we doing here?
Yeah, they look good. Put them on them.
Right. So
I thought the Moods looked okay.
They looked.
It's-
They do look okay.
It's
but
funny.
they're okay.
I
It's
thought about
also
the-
like
I thought about-
1981. Like it's not like that
Yeah.
heavily armed mood. Like the
Right.
guy
Oh,
with the
good point.
sunglasses, like that.
Well,
I
it
almost
looks like
think
the
that's
leader of the
more
North
like a later
Alliance.
You see the photos of them like that.
The second I saw him, I was like, "Oh, that's the Lion of Kandahar."
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
again, this is a
Fuck it
year.
was,
This
yeah.
is a year into this whole, or a
Assumed.
year and a half, basically, into this fucking invasion.
the peaceful Afghanistan, where
Yeah,
everything was beautiful.
the moves very early on, like Enfields, Martin Henrys, AKs,
Which was
you got
cool,
them from
which is
one of
cool.
the-
We'll get
the
into
loyal
that.
troops. It's very cool.
We'll
yeah,
get into
but
that.
I saw some slab
They
side
weren't
AKs,
that
by the way.
heavily
That was cool.
armed
Correct.
force. You think of
And
like later, like
They probably
later
didn't.
on the war
They
once.
probably didn't contact the Swedish embassy and were like, "Hey, can we get some fucking bandoliers from your 1896 fucking Mauser rifles?" Like,
Not aligned Sweden is going to help out.
Yep. Oh well. Yeah. Okay. I guess we can send this to you. No, it's just funny, but that it's whatever. It's kind of a funny thing. But also, so to touch on the Enfields, right? Did anybody else notice anything peculiar about them?
They're awesome.
They didn't. Yeah.
I did notice they did the decorated straps, which is just
No,
cool.
that's
which is a cool
not what I'm
touch.
talking about. That's what I'm saying.
When the guy that used like the one random spring from the gun. Or
Sure,
something.
we'll get to that.
What did you see?
Well, that's just all that was is like the sight spring. That's like the sight.
Yeah,
leaf.
the leaf spring, yes.
yeah.
But did anybody notice anything weird about the SMLEs that they're using? Not anything that's attached to them. The actual rifles.
They didn't
themselves.
look right. That's all I knew, but I couldn't pick it out.
Tell us.
Well, no, they were right, except they were Indian.
That's
Oh,
that's
Ishpor-
why that's why they
Ishpor-
didn't look
Ishpor
right.
screw.
Dude, look at the front sights. They're all straight. The straight front ears.
Yeah.
On
yeah,
the
yeah,
fucking,
yeah. That's
on
what
the front
was
sights.
throwing me off. It was,
I didn't know they had those in Israel.
yeah,
That's
it,
7.62 though.
it was the front.
No.
It was the
The
front- it was-
Ishpors were used. They were 303 before that. They just
Yeah.
made the front ears, the protectors
Well,
straight.
they're not L2s then? They're actually They're actually
No,
SMLs.
they're number one Mark IIIs. Yes, but like the Ishpor
Okay, I
ones
gotcha.
had the straight.
They didn't
yeah,
have the
yeah,
finned
whatever.
out ones. the
Protectors.
finned out
I was
ones,
just thinking that they
shields.
were L2A1s for some
No, they
reason.
weren't. Because they had the 303 magazines. But
It's the square box.
it's very funny though, like that they use those because like, well, they're cheap. Like we can get a bunch of them. Let's just do it. You know. So that was kind of a stupid, really stupid fucking detail. But yeah.
It's a detail
I mean,
nonetheless.
At least they have Enfields.
Yeah,
That's-
they're
that's a-
they're
that's
number
a
one
nice
mark,
touch,
and they're
yeah.
not number fours. I like that. You know, they're all number
Yeah.
ones, which I like. So whatever. It's just a dumb me being just like a fucking pedantic piece of shit, as usual. And then also in that one scene where they're getting ambushed and they're whatever trying to get back in the tank, and the fucking his rank was really weird, like the way he wore it, and like they were calling him Sir, but he's not wearing officer rank. Very weird. Anyway, he's standing out in the open, just sitting
Oh,
there.
that whole scene where he's like being
well, the
being a
bullets
band.
Right, it's like,
flying at
oh yeah,
him.
what a fucking badass you are. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, no,
Yeah, the guy that literally shoots his musket since he could walk. Like, you're gonna fucking nail you.
right. It's like, why would you stand out there? Like, why would you stand out there?
They're at
Get back in the fucking
300
tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I can hit something for 300 yards with my infield, and I'm not a great shot. Like,
Well, and then my next note, we'll go into that with all this shit, is where the fuck did the Israeli heavy-barreled FAL come from?
Israel. Duh.
probably with the tank thing on, yeah. Israel did send equipment over, but they sent, like, during the Afghan war, the CIA did eventually get Israel to send equipment over, but they sent all the captured Russian shit that they had captured in the Yom Kippur War against Syria and Egypt. Like, that's the shit they were not going to send their own stuff over. Like, oh no,
Sure.
absolutely not. Like, here's the buttloads of AKs and all this other bullshit we have. Like, you can take that. Like,
That's what I thought.
I know a lot of West German stuff ended up there.
yeah,
like
a lot of like the
G3s and stuff.
Saudis
So that's
gave
probably
a lot
what
of
it's
G3s.
standing in.
Right, but that
Yeah, that's
was
probably
that not
what-
later also? Like,
That
this
is what
That was later.
a
yeah,
lot of
but-
that is when Reagan takes over, because that's when they really amp up. Reagan's like, oh, like we'll just do some damage to the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna send them all these weapons. And
Reaganomics.
we'll give them to the Pakistani intelligence service, and who gets them from there on? Whoever cares, as long as they're killing Soviets. And whoops,
No,
it didn't
they're
turn
not
out
gonna
great,
get-
did it?
That's the mentality was, though. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, about like
Wasn't the
when did
80s a
Reagan
crazy time?
85, 86 Reagan came in.
No,
Yeah.
Reagan came in 80.
Is he 80?
Was it
Yeah,
two
it was
to 8?
two-
Wow.
80? Yeah, it's
Reaganomics.
yeah, wrong. Reaganomics, wrong. Yeah, like but around 85, I believe, is when they get
Second
Stinner
term,
missiles.
don't give a
When they
fuck.
come, 85, 86 is when the Stinner,
Yeah, Charlie
the
Wilson's War,
anti-helicopter
another great
missiles
film.
come in.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that was later on, and like, yeah, it was, yeah. So, but at this point, it's like I would think that's not historically accurate at all to have an Israeli heavy-barreled FAL.
No, yeah.
Not for 81, but
No, for 81.
I mean,
yeah.
the Israelis wouldn't give them to. They wouldn't get it in the first place. I've never seen a photo, and I don't want to say like I've never seen one, because every time you say that, somebody like finds one
it's
photo
fine.
on the
It's
internet.
not-
Like,
it's
oh,
not-
you were
it's not
fucking
the
wrong.
usual.
Like,
It's not the usual animal. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's not like what you're going to see usually.
it
so.
should be like a G3 or a
Like,
G1. Yeah.
Maybe.
photos of G43s in Indochina in the 50s just came up the other day, and it's like I would have said that was
Yeah, I
wrong
don't want to say
until I
it
saw
never
the photo.
happened, because they gave the Afghans some fucking weird shit.
Right,
Like,
just
you
not
see a
this
lot
early.
of
Like, you know, this thing.
Yeah, it's
the
just too early for
G43s is like that's years after this conflict existed, and the Soviets were like, we have all this shit that we don't want to use per se. Let's send it to them, and it's like, yeah, I would think of like the heavy barreled FAL would be like 85 ish on, if they had
Oh, yeah,
them.
definitely
if they had it.
late war.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's one thing that I just
Because you
yeah.
see like DPM and shit like show up. It's like it's interesting.
there was no
There's some
DPMs
great
in
footage
this.
of the. No, not in this, but I'm
In
saying
the
later in
Afghan
the
war,
war.
yeah, later
Right,
in the
but
Yeah,
like,
'cause-
yeah, you would have think you'd see these
Yeah.
first instead of the Israeli fucking FAL. But AKMs, the slab sides, yes, the milled, the actual AK-47s, that was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Mhm.
So
the early ones.
Didn't the guy have a Type 50? I mean, if we're going in the IMFDB, but I think a guy had a Type 56. One of the
I didn't pay attention to the
Yeah,
front
we'll-
side hoods.
Lee
Yeah.
Mahajideen.
We'll save the weapon stock for
Yeah.
a little bit.
But yeah,
We'll get to the other
but
points,
the Israeli
yeah.
FAL is like it was a thing of like accuracy of the film. It's like,
Yeah.
well, the rest of them, okay, I get it. Their arms and everything they've acquired or had, but that one just did not make sense for this
Yeah,
early of that war.
The uniforms the Soviet tankers have. If I've been like trying to find good photos of it, I have a set somewhere. If they're not originals, they are very good looking repros. They have in the movie they have this side arm pocket that all the photos I see, they don't have that, but they have two breast pockets, two like front leg pockets, internal belt, and they would use their own like the Soviet belt, like a wooden belt it's called, but a little like plastic essential belt with a brass belt buckle you would string through your pants, you tuck them in. So if they're not originals and they have like that stupid little tank batch on the front, if they're not originals, they're very good looking repros. So that's good. Their boots are raw. And I've been trying to figure out what kind of boots they are. They're not.
Yeah,
Just,
they didn't
Jankers
look
usually
like-
have just the classic Soviet jack boots. They
Yeah.
have these weird strap on the top that I don't know where
Yeah,
they
they're
come
not
from.
sapogi.
Yeah, they're not that
'Cause-
classic Russian jack boot.
Because that was when I was looking at I was trying to spot things like that because I was just like, okay, like if I'm not into the story, then maybe I'm going to be into like the nerdisms, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know that much, but from what I could tell, nothing really stood out to be like, oh, that's a Swedish tunic.
They
you
look
know,
good.
something like that.
I noticed like when they had the bottoms of the soles are raw, and that's how I was like, all right. I was trying to figure out like, oh, are they some boot I've never seen before? But nope, the soles are on. It's not.
So how commonly would they use flamethrowers?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was one thing I wanted to ask.
A special they had T-55s that were flamethrower tanks, but
360
I don't know.
no-scope.
Yeah, I don't know where. Like, there's not enough room for the motherfucking crew in those tanks. Like, it's tight, and like they have a flamethrower and a ground radar set. Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
It looked like an M2 flamethrower when.
I did like. They would have been the
It's like
Soviet
they wanted
flamethrower
to-
never changed from like the RS whatever the fuck it's called, the one that looks supposed to look like a Moise Nagant, like it's in the
Yeah,
Moise Nagant
literally.
stock. They never changed that. I mean, why the fuck would you? People literally stopped using flamethrowers after World War II, but it I don't know why it's mounted to the tank suddenly in that shot where they put the ground radar out and the deer are all running around it. And then it's
Yeah,
just
so
never
how-
heard from again. Like, get that out of here. Like, where is this thing? Why?
Did they all have radar as well?
No.
How many tanks have radar?
No, I don't know what that is supposed to be.
Yeah, because
Well, and also
it's a clever plot device to build tension between him and the Afghan army trainee that is stuffed into this tank somehow.
Right, but it's like, and also, where the fuck is all this fuel coming from?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right.
what the
where?
fuck? You have jellied gasoline, basically.
That's why it's at night, so you can't see it strapped to
Right.
the outside of the tank, and they take it away.
fucking retarded.
Yeah,
So while we're on the subject, how many times did the Soviets poison the water for the Afghans?
that
For an
is,
ambush?
it's a lot of people will say like there's a lot of alleged stories of Soviet atrocities in Afghanistan, and a lot of them are real. There's the famous one. The famous one I was going to say is the toy mines, where they said
Oh, yeah.
the Soviets
3.
were dropping like what?
Rambo 3. They
The
use
Soviet-
that. They use
Should have
that
put
in
the
Rambo.
bunny
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the back.
Yes, I haven't seen Rambo
Oh,
3. That's
okay,
why
okay.
I just know the Brave Hajidin.
Brave Mujahideen.
They said that the Soviets were like dropping toys, like literally like teddy bears that would explode when you pick them up, and it's all from there's a little anti-personnel mine that you could drop from a helicopter. You could fire out of a motor, and it essentially floats down. It's called the PFM-1, I believe. And it's just this little teeny little plastic thing. It's about the size of your palm. And if you were to like pick it up and touch it with your index finger and your thumb, that's apparently enough pressure to set it off. It's not very big. It's literally just supposed to blow your foot off. So you're now wounded now you have to be exfilled out. And they would just drop these things out of helicopters. Also, when the Soviets realized what kind of war they were in, that this was a bad insurgency, that you can't tell who's who. The only way to really beat it is to drain the water around the fish, if you want to use that that phrase. So they would just kind of, if you took fire from a village, you shell the village. You call in airstrikes on the village. You go in there and you kill whoever left, and that was it. And that happened with alarming frequency in the Soviet-Afghan War. That was, I'm not going to say all the stories you hear are true, but it happened. There's shit like that happened, like when they come in and they kill everybody in the village. That shit like that happened. But chemical warfare, I've never heard of that. Why the fuck would they ever admit to doing that? Like the Soviet government, they were pretty open about what happened in the war. Like, they kind of don't hide this stuff anymore. Why the fuck would you ever admit to doing that? But they still, I've never heard of that. Nobody has ever said, "Yep, we did that." Vets have come and said, like, yeah, we bombed villages, we fucking killed people. Like, no one's ever like, yeah, I poisoned the water supply with a comical like looking cyanide capsule
That's
thing.
what I said.
It was the yellow smoke
Yeah.
grenade, not the
Yeah,
green
Everyone
one.
carries
No,
a
like,
yellow
you-
cyanide can.
Yeah, you don't just give troops chemical weapons and say, like, go have fun, guys, because it's not going to end well. Like, these are conscripts. Like, it's not something you just do.
Now, did all Soviet tankers have standing orders that in case they lost their tracks, they would become bunkers?
Yeah,
if they
oh
lost their
god, that's
we would hang them down.
Turn to the sands of
Tank
Iwo Jima real
Tank
quick.
boy.
Is it time to talk about Tank Boy?
Boy.
I think it's time to talk about Tank
That's
Boy.
a better name for the movie, honestly. But,
Tank Boy.
but I kept wanting to call the movie Tank, honestly, when I was watching it. But that's an entirely
mentioned that.
different movie starring James Garner. But for some reason, I don't think. Whenever I think of this movie now, I don't think of it as being called The Beast. I just think of it as being called Tank. So,
I like Tank Boy better.
Tank Boy, yeah.
Tank Boy.
It was about the first time I watched that movie. This movie, I was when it got to that scene, I was like, I'm done. That was officially the stupidest.
Player one is
That's
offline.
the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's talking about it like he was like he was some kind of radical French resistance fighter or something, you know, like.
It's just they tied children with ropes and used them to lower them down to attack German tanks all the time in Stalingrad. It happened all the time. Like what the?
There
fuck?
weren't a lot of tanks in Stalingrad to begin with.
Yeah, and
the
it's like
German army was shattered by the
really
time they got to the outskirts of the
I think the sole reason
city.
is because it's a Western audience. Like, if you
Yeah.
grew up in 1980s America, you've probably heard of Stalingrad. I know that battle. That's where they turned the war. Like, we'll have the tank commander be from. He fought in Stalingrad, and somebody like piped up like, "Oh, sir, he would have been 8 years old when that happened."
That's what I thought
too. They did this. Like, well, what the fuck?
Wait, so didn't he talk about an RPG in Mongolia?
Yeah,
or something like that?
I
like what the
I believe he's
fuck?
trying to talk about like a border conflict that the Chinese and Russians had, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I think the Chinese stole a fucking tank at one point. Like, there's just pretty nothing. They had like, I almost want to call them skirmishes, but like little shooting matches. But I don't think it
Like it
ever
happened
broke out
with
to now we're
Russia
gonna
and
start
Japan
shooting
in the
RPGs
30s.
at
Yeah.
fucking tanks. Like. Again, they're like, how do we get this tank commander to have some weird tank combat experience? But the Russians had never been in real warfare since World War II. Like,
It's like the axe cutting incident from like the DMZ in Korea or whatever. You know, like those very specific times where something happens across the border.
yeah.
But
it's
it's funny, Sean. I thought the exact same thing when he says that whole story. It's like I was only 8 years old. It's like. Okay, they wanted to make this guy like a hard-ass veteran because that's a trope in war movies, you know, the one who fought in the previous wars, you know, and that whole thing. But then when they mentioned that, and he's like, I was like, this guy's got to be like 40 something, if that. Like, I mean, there's no way this guy fought in World War
hair in
II.
this tank.
You know, I guess if they wanted to, they could have made him like 60 something, and maybe that would have. But like, I mean, no one's gonna be out there in their 60s.
When I fought for the Tsar,
Yeah.
we used to take out the tanks easily.
They were just 60 fucking years old. Jesus
They used
Christ.
to lower me down onto the Austro-Hungarian armored
But
cars.
to put a big cherry on the shit sundae at the very end, when he finally, like, the good guy with the glasses, he confronts him and he's like, "No Stalingrad, sir," or something like that. It's like, so stupid.
There ain't no
No,
Stalingrad.
And then he Superman flew into the air and was carried into the
And
distance. Like,
now that we're talking about that scene,
Ugh.
like I thought the end of the movie, I was like, wow, he's gonna like walk off with the Afghans and he's gonna live with like to experience their culture, and then he just leaves and like gets on the helicopter. Like, what the fuck was the point of this?
He's basically like
Like
that vampire in 30 Days a Night, where he's like, God, no God, and then he just
He's like,
absconds into a
I
fucking
can't understand
helicopter.
you.
Vasily went back to the KGB, where
Vasily
he became
returned to his home
bad.
planet.
all I
He was known as the Butcher of
all I
Lvov.
picture is a freeze frame, and it's just fist in the air. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he-
Don't you,
did you just do
forget about
Sean,
me.
did you just do a Poochie reference?
I just do a Poochie reference.
That is
Thank you. He literally
fucking
did a Poochie at the end.
Yeah.
Like, Poochie returned to his
He
home
returned to
planet.
his home planet, and he died on the way there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's comical. It's like, oh
Fucking
my
retarded
God.
is what it is.
So, Sean, did Soviets have stab-o rigs?
If they did, I wouldn't trust one.
Made in People's Plant number 61.
And again, like when they lower the stupid rig, I was like, oh my God, he's holding like a Giselle, like an Afghan musket. Like they're gonna gut him down after all this. They're gonna shoot him because they think he's an Afghan. I like, oh no, let's just rope him down and get him out. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Why?
He's special
the
forces
second time-
now.
Like, is it supposed to be hip or hind?
It's
forget the
supposed to be
difference.
an Mi-8, but it is some Western helicopter they like painted. With
Yeah.
a red
It's a
star.
Sikorsky.
like,
it's a Sikorsky. I forgot
how
the
many-
model, but yeah, they doctored it up. Yeah.
How many times do those helicopters just land next to tanks? Hey guys, what's going? You know, it's
Hey,
like,
yeah.
that doesn't happen.
They're not
you know?
like
It's
assets you protect and you don't.
hey, an Apache landed and
that-
asked it for directions. You know, like
that
no.
helicopter, that tank just got destroyed down there. Better hover over it. Like what?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I like how
Wow,
they
you know?
countered the fact that they would totally ignore his order and just go with the helicopter anyway by the fact that he would shoot them down.
With the
That-
7
Shoot
rounds
down
that
the
he knows he
helicopter.
has left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the ploy. like oh, we better go with him or he'll shoot us out of the sky. Like,
Yeah.
have you?
They're-
Good sir, I have played squad. It is very hard to hit a fucking helicopter with a tank. Thank you very much with a round. Okay, all right. I'm
Why are
knowledgeable.
you the helicopter
I'm not-
crew? Not like this guy's fucking
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Like,
I'm knowledgeable.
Wasn't that a thing?
He had an M2 Dishka with 7 rounds. He could do some damage. So
Brian,
Take
Wasn't that a thing?
The
in
Mi-8s are
Afghanistan,
known.
Sean? Yeah. Wasn't that a thing in Afghanistan? Because they actually talk about it. They couldn't elevate their guns high
Yeah.
enough. That's why they had the AA. Like
Yeah,
when
when you go
Z-
into some of
whatever
these
the hell it
valleys, the elevation is so high, and they have they're fucking smart. They knew if they get above it so high, the tank couldn't elevate their gun, any of the guns high enough to hit them. So that's why you see like trucks have anti-aircraft guns loaded in the back, like they're gun trucks essentially. They have like the Zeus, the ZSU anti-aircraft gun in the back, so that thing could elevate up almost 90 degrees and shoot at them.
Interesting. Well, the whole thing about what we were just talking about with where he says, he'll shoot us out of the sky or something like that. You got to remember also, this is written by, an American this is their interpretation of the Soviet army. And like,
Well, the whole
that is
movie's
definite-
like that, though. I mean, that's
I know,
not
but,
just
like-
that one instance, but yeah.
No,
like,
but that's what I'm saying. That's a definite thing. Anytime like the Soviets are depicted, it's always like we kill our own people. We're very like fanatical
Yeah,
and everything.
We'll tie him to a rock.
Right.
Have you have you
It's
have
funny,
you
too,
heard of
Like you a
Stalingrad?
conscript
Yeah.
that loves life. You're gonna be like, yeah, I'll tie this guy to a fucking rock. Like what the fuck?
I said in my notes, like, the Mujahideen, they were too Western in their actions. But now that I know about the whole Red Dawn thing, it's like they were basically Afghan versions of the Wolverines.
Yeah.
Stumbling through, trying to figure out how to,
yeah, exactly.
like,
You're right.
mountain
You're right,
goats.
You're right.
Like literally, there's just
And it's like,
this is the
so
foreign
these guys
version
have
of
never
them.
seen in a year of occupation, they've never seen an RPG being fired at all.
How did the RPG break? Like it's.
I don't know. Well, the guy fired it without even like knowing what he was doing. At one point, he's like looking.
He
just-
hip fired this fucking thing.
Then
Yeah.
he hip fires it. Yeah,
Fire.
they fire it twice, and both times they fuck it. So yeah.
Oh,
Well, and
and-
one of
and-
one of my
and-
notes, I
He
said,
knows how to perfectly aim an Enfield and hit it.
Right.
I think you
Right.
think you can figure out like, oh, it's got an iron
and
sight.
and this is just what made me laugh. I'm not gonna I'll never deduct a movie for this, but when they did the very close up of the RPG, they didn't even use a hero prop. They used a foam. It's a foam RPG head because you can see the seam.
you can see the seam.
You can see the
You can
foam
see the
seams.
Oh,
the
yeah.
foam seam.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
dude, like,
it is
Coming down the
a
side of it.
duct tape Dishka. So why were we surprised?
right. Well, it's the, in my notes, I said, hip firing a fucking RPG. God, the 80s called. And I just put ellipses after that. I'm like,
Where's Turkish Rambo?
right. So that's, I mean, these, yeah, I guess, I know the time it was made, the people that, knew about what was going on over there, quote unquote. But yeah, it's just fucking.
I'm surprised the foam RPG didn't have like a red end on the end of it or something.
Orange. Yeah.
I like
yeah.
how they throw a rocket, which is a very encourageable thing. I highly
Oh.
encourage you to do that
I
when you have an
forgot
RPG
about-
rocket.
yeah.
Like, yeah, when,
Oh,
when
okay.
if you so for our listeners who don't know, there's an RPG rocket. If there's a little cap on the end, and if you take the cap off and you just hit the end of the rocket against something, it will explode. So I wouldn't throw it.
Not necessarily. It's not armed. So that.
Well, yeah, if you keep that cap on, it's not.
but you
armed,
also,
but-
when you arm it, when you put it in the tube and twist it, it arms.
No.
yeah,
and so there's-
why the fuck would you throw that thing?
Well, and here's the thing too: is like those things are really heavy. Okay, they weigh about, I don't know how many fucking pounds. They're heavy and they're
Well,
awkward.
they're also two parts. There's the propellant charge and the actual
Right.
rocket.
And so if you're throwing that fucking thing across what seems to be about 50 yards. You know, you're going to make it probably
Comically
about
5 feet.
20 yards. Yeah. And maybe it'll just land there. And
Mike,
they'll be
he
like,
threw
oh,
it.
okay.
He threw it like a throwing stick. Okay, like
Yeah.
it's
No,
fine.
even then, man, it's like if you underhand that shit like a throwing stick.
It's called an Afghan pilum. You know.
Yeah.
Throw your rockets, kids.
Yeah.
And that's how you do business.
Liberate Kandahar one valley at a time.
That's how you do business. You throw your rockets. But
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't have gone off, but it was like he's not going to make that throw. There's no fucking way.
His father actually fought with Captain
I
Miller in
still
Normandy.
wouldn't wanna-
He used to throw the 60 millimeter
Yeah,
mortar rounds.
I still wouldn't want to.
That's how he
I
learned.
still
it.
wouldn't want to fucking yeet that though. I'll be really honest.
I love your woke speak. I wouldn't want to eat.
Got a
that.
teenage kid in the house. All right, I'm hip with the
Oh,
lingo. Okay,
Is that where it comes from?
that's
I
where it
would
comes
have
from.
yeet that son of a bitch.
It's hip to be
Yeah.
square.
Look,
I would
look,
have yeet that son of a bitch. But I'm not. Yeah.
I'll just give a helpful hint to anyone who's got like a teenager in the house. Just start copying their verbiage, and they'll never use it again. So it's like the best deploy ever.
when
yeah.
you just said
Here's
that,
your
I was like,
Scuttlebutt
They'll find
top
worse
tip.
language to use.
I just never want to yeet a rocket.
Like she said bussin' one time, she's never used it after one day because I abused it to hell with using it in really horrible ways.
What the fuck
I don't
does
even
that
fucking know.
mean?
I just used it in horrible ways. That's all I know. Bussin', dude.
bussin' like
man.
like your truck. Like keep on
I
trucking.
Mike, I don't know.
It's busting.
I just was
He's
I
like,
just
"Bussin'."
was like, yo, I was like, yo, am I bus?
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, look it up.
Jamie.
Jamie, look it up. It means really good.
Bussin' means really good.
This movie was not bussin'.
Back in the fucking 50s, not
Use it in a
bussin' means
sentence.
I'm standing up for my fucking civil rights and I'm not going to ride the fucking bus. Nowadays, it's like, oh, we're bussin'. We're bussin'.
Oh,
Jesus, how times have
times
changed. Whoa.
Yeah, right.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke, you fuck.
You fucking schmuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, so coming back to the Afghan War.
Oh, lovely
know.
subject. Oh, so okay, really quick, can I comment on the night vision apparatus that are
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
so-
really
Just
bussin'.
only
Before you
once.
say that, when you wear when you have night vision, you're supposed to look right into the campfire that your squad mates are making. Right?
Right
You're
into it.
supposed to do
I'm going to
that,
elaborate
right?
on this, Brian, so you'll see why he was
Good.
able to do that.
Perfect.
The-
oh, great.
The Czech nomenclature for this is the PNV 57. It was PNW in Poland. I don't know what the fucking whatever. They came out in 1957. They were literally just dual fucking their binoculars for armored crew and truck drivers and shit. Basically mechanized personnel, drivers and such, crew to use. They plugged in directly to the fucking tank, truck, whatever the fuck it was. They had to have a direct power source. And they had to have a constant infrared source, an infrared light. Okay? Because I have a set of these out in the garage. That's how I know. So I actually own a pair of these, right? The same exact ones he was fucking using there. And the way he was using them is complete and utter fucking bullshit. You're not gonna look through a fucking periscope without IR light.
I thought
Without
this was going
intense
like,
IR
oh
light.
yeah, this is the
comical
this
RR
is the
light.
reason why he can do this. Nope.
No, dude, the PNV 57s, the ones they were using, they
Yeah.
came with a set of filters that you could put on a flashlight, right? And you would have to do one of these things, right? You guys can't see what I'm doing. You basically just stick the light out of the hatch or the top of the truck or the side of the truck, and the naked eye cannot see infrared light, but like these night vision goggles, well, they are at best good to 150 meters, and the most you're probably going to realistically see is 100 meters out. They're not good. They're made for driving at night without any lights on, and they're good for that.
Which that sucks to me
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, they're big, heavy, and yeah, you don't want
Right,
to do that.
but they actually
That's what they're for.
They did the good thing in the film was they were made to attach to the tanker helmet, which is like a
Yeah.
padded fucking whatever. And I should show you guys this after the podcast. But like, I still have my set out there that they work. I figured out a way to hook them up to a 9-volt battery and make them work.
Oh my god.
And I actually, so I've tested them. They don't last long, but like, no, it's like so. No, I walked. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm an idiot, but I'm not that much of an idiot. But anyway,
I
so
have the
these
headlights
things-
off and I'm driving. You see.
right?
Just go to McDonald's one night and you pass a guy in Acura and he's wearing those.
I'll get a fucking
It's like, oh,
PVS
great.
14 before
You
I
got a
fucking
Happy Meal.
drive with fucking night vision because it's so
Get dual
bad.
tubes.
But anyway, what I'm saying is the way they portray that, where he's just looking through like it's like an active, an active night vision source. It's like, oh, I'm just looking through the fucking tank, like that. It's such bullshit, like, dude. And then later on, he goes, "We need to have the IR light on for that." And I'm like, so you didn't for your night vision that needs IR?
Somebody told them, "Hey, director, these actually work with an IR light," and they already shot
Right,
that scene,
right.
so they weren't going back.
But it was he didn't.
I'll write that in.
He wasn't wearing his nods.
We'll
at that
fix it in
point.
post.
He wasn't wearing his nods at that point. He was just like something about the IR light, and it's like, what? Who the fuck is? Again, it's 88. I'll give him that. But like, so those goggles were cool because it's accurate. It actually is accurate. But the way they were using it, they didn't know how they fucking worked.
Yeah.
And it's like,
just the night vision goggles. You put them on and they work. Like,
right. If it was Russians or Polish guys or Czech guys making this film, they'd have been like, yeah, let's get the IR up. Okay. And he'd have been scanning constantly from about 100 meters outside of his vehicle. That's about all you can see. It's clear. It's okay. It's weird, but it's Gen Zero night vision, right? It's really old school shit. And anyway, but that was kind of funny to watch. And then he's like using it like it's modern night vision where you can just go up and down. It was just funny as shit. Like he's flipping it up and down. I'm like, nah, it's that PMV 57 is like very old school. And then in that same kind of scene when they came out and they're doing the whole grenade and they all just kind of they drop 2 feet from the grenade. You're toast.
yeah,
dude. You're fucking.
that would get you.
Fragmentation grenade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's an F1 and
When it landed in front of the treads, I'm like, you're gone. Like, goodbye.
dude,
He just got a slight scratch on his
Fatal
head. He's
funnel.
all right.
Yeah.
the F1
Yeah,
grenade, you're gonna be fucked if you're
Yeah.
falling just that short of it. You're fucked.
Yep.
Like
Steel channel here.
And then they
steel
threw
channel here.
3 more at them on the
right,
like
right.
by the tank, like on the sides of the tank that they're now under. So it's just
they
like
all would have been
that's just gonna get in
massacred,
you.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, they would have been hamburger meat.
Yeah. Yeah, grenades are very powerful, and that does not ever come through in films.
No, well,
Never.
like in this movie, when the grenade that he's booby trapped with blows up those dogs or whatever the fuck they were.
His leg would have been gone.
Yeah.
His feet would have been
That's-
toast.
Yeah.
That's the RDG
RGD5, yep. RGD5.
RGG5.
Yep.
That is the offensive grenade this is like
Yep.
the Soviet doctrine. You had 2 grenades. You had an offensive and a defensive grenade. That was the offensive one you threw if you were attacking, and the
Yep.
F1 was the defensive one you threw if you were behind cover.
Yeah, because the
There's a difference, and they
Yep.
did issue both at the same time.
'Cause it's more of
They
a
still
concur-
issued the F1 because they made
Yes.
like in World War II they made them for like 100 years. They
yeah,
wouldn't be
but
able
like
to
it's
use
also a
them
good fragmentation grenade. The ladder that we were talking about is more of a concussive grenade that has fragmentation for sure.
Yes,
But it's
the,
more-
the
yeah.
point. The point
Yep.
I've been told is that if you threw it and you were running towards a position, if it blew up, it wouldn't fuck you up. The F1 is supposed to be you can like throw it and duck your head down.
Yeah.
Like supposed to be able to hide. That's kind of the doctrine. So they were
Yep.
issued side by side.
so
Yes.
Definitely not influenced from the
so-
Germans.
No, definitely
so
not.
No,
You have to
no.
quiet that, Brian. That's
yeah.
it's like all the doctrines.
Blitzkrieg,
created for the
Afghanistan.
Germans.
That's a trade fucking secret, man. You can't be like exposing that.
Yeah.
I have a question on the actual grenade. I didn't know those things had spoons.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so when they started like
Yeah, they have
when they
small.
started
Very small.
like
It's
laying
just
them-
not like comical looking like the M67, the American ones. They're very big, but the F1 is more
Mhm.
pressed towards the body almost. I would
Very
say.
narrow as
That
well.
tube
Very narrow.
that comes
Yeah.
out of the F1 is like literally holding back a spring and a nail.
Yeah, if you pull the
So
spoon
like
out,
the
it
spoon
just
is very
goes,
strained.
Yeah,
It like fits into
Yep.
there and it pushes
yeah.
it
It
up.
almost makes like
And
a
it
like a
can-
because
forms.
anytime
like if you can see my 2 fingers, it kind of clips around the spring, and when you release it, it shoots
Oh.
down. That's why it looks like that. Yeah.
It's like a
anytime
U.
in movies you never
Yeah.
ever see the spoon for those frags, and so I'm always very curious. I was like, I saw them like putting it underneath the shell, and I'm just like,
That's realistic.
That's gonna explode because I never
Yeah.
seen
Oh,
the
yeah.
spoon go, and I was like, and then it
Right.
didn't go off. I was like, huh, and then I like then I watched him put it underneath his head, and the way they placed it was like you could see the spoon. And I went, "Oh, that does have a spoon."
Very
Okay.
narrow, very smaller than the U.S. frag grenade.
Well, I
spoons.
always thought those grenades were like the Japanese grenades, where it's like, like
no,
Oh,
no.
the pressed
Yeah.
out.
Well, no,
it is there.
So it is the same concept, except they have a spoon. So that's why the fuse is so long on the top.
right.
I have a replica one, Nathan. I'll show you. Like, works the same way. The
Yes.
fuse works the same. I'll have to show
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
that'd be
it
cool.
does.
Like the originals, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, talk to the fucking millions of people that have been killed by those fuckers and say it doesn't
yeah.
work.
Well, there were a lot of duds though. I have a great memoir, a Soviet tanker memoir, where he, long story short, ran up on a bunch of Germans and he threw two of them at them, and they both landed at the Germans' feet as they were running away. And he was like, "I love my factory workers." You know, like.
Well, I mean, that happens
What
with
the
American
fuck?
grenades too. Like, we just have a different fuse
Oh, it happens all
system.
the
Like,
time.
our
Yeah.
fuse system is it's able to be shorter because it's a spring that is loaded like this. I can't even bend my wrist that far back, right?
Yeah.
And so when you release or you pull the pin, release the spoon, all it does is travel here. Theirs travels like this. So you need a longer fuse, or not a fuse, but a longer section of the grenade exposed.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference is like, yeah. So
Would it be at all possible that those would smoke when they're burnt, when they're about to blow?
yeah,
They smoke a little bit. Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
As the primer.
It's a
core,
cannon
whatever
fuse.
the
Yeah.
primer is.
That once it
Yeah.
ignites, or once the fuse ignites, it's the same concept. It's just
Yeah.
the ignition style is different. That's it.
Mhm.
So
Like,
Yeah, little blue gray is correct.
Mike, did you tell me actually that once when you when you threw a grenade, you actually could like hear it burning, like before you threw it or something?
yeah, I got fucked up for that in basic because but yeah, I because the first one I just got out of my fucking hands because they're so loud and they're terrifying. But and then the second one I was like, okay, and then I went back here to throw it and I cooked it. I went, I let the spoon go, and you could hear a just like a fuse burning, but it's muffled, you know.
Ugh.
And then I threw it. I mean, this is a split second. It wasn't like I held it for a while.
You're not
But,
you're
like,
not doing a
you-
Call of Duty maneuver. I got it.
No, you could hear it because it's a shotgun primer basically that it
One did crowd,
ignites
two
the-
did crowds, three did
So
crowds.
you hear when the spoon releases, you hear like you hear this kind of explosion, this muffled explosion, and then it lights the fuse. So there's a little bit of smoke. It's not like in the films necessarily. I don't know. I've never
It's like a sparkler.
held a Mark II or thrown a Mark II, back in the day. But
Right.
like it wasn't that much smoke. It was just a little bit of residual.
Yeah, like because I've
Yeah,
heard that,
like from a burning cannon. Yeah, it's
Right.
not much.
but I've heard that like the Mark IIs would have like some smoke that comes out. Like movies, I've seen movies where they really overdo it. Where
They
it's
really
like a
overdo it,
gas
yeah.
bomb. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like
The old black powder smoke,
Right.
you know.
Well, it
I
is
have-
black powder, but
Yeah,
it's not
I-
that much.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard even like some of the early Mark IIs would even like when the spoon flies off, like a little spark would come out of it or something like
Yeah,
that.
well, it's a shotgun primer.
That was
yeah.
a-
It's I mean, it's an actual explosion that goes on to light the fuse, and then you throw that thing.
Right.
It's a very simple device. Like the mechanism of which the primer gets hit is advanced, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's more kind of modern, but like no, it's a simple concept. It's a primer, a shotgun primer. Bam! It gets hit by a pin. It ignites this cannon fuse that goes down in a steel body into the grenade, and then when it gets down to the filler and it's exposed the heat and all that shit to the filler, which is Comp B, which it still is, I'm pretty sure. It's like a combination of black powder and TNT, whatever the fuck Comp B is. And once it gets down there, it blows up. But there's a delay. But it also like how old is that grenade? It's like so that's why the fuse. They're supposed to be like 4 seconds, but that's why they say throw them immediately without fucking cooking them, because if it's a little bit old or something just didn't go right in the fuse, it can blow short. So right as you're throwing it, it's going to blow versus, oh, it's now a 7-second grenade and the guy's going to throw it back. So it's like grenades are just fucking weird. But
Right. And movies though never get that right with the noise like you're talking about, or like the little smoke that will come out of it. It's always just like it's
so in Band of Brothers, there was one scene, it was in Carentan, where Lipton is up on a building and he's going up the steps and you could hear the ting and he just throws it
yeah, it blows
and then it blows up immediately.
Yeah.
That's actually fairly accurate. you know, of like why you don't want to cook a grenade. That's why they always say don't cook grenades.
Right.
And so why we're saying this is the Russian ones are the same. The F1s and the RGD5s are the same concept, the same fucking whatever. Priming system's a little bit different, but it's like once that fuse starts burning, you want to get rid of that fucker. You want to get rid of that before that. Ideally, you want the fuse to start burning as it leaves your hand, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, grenades are really weird. Any kind of explosive is weird, especially when it's that primitive.
Right, yeah. I remember you telling me, you were like, I fucking hate grenades.
Yeah, I don't like them. They're fucking terrifying. They're fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Brian, were you going to say something?
I forgot.
Okay.
But
I guess not.
Yeah. But one thing I will say, though, for my notes.
Well, that's fine. No, just fucking interrupt me. That's fine. No, I appreciate it. No,
wow.
no, it's
What
fine. No, it's not that
you?
important anymore. No, it's fine.
Right, we're done.
Jesus, they just say it.
What do you want?
Say
it.
What was?
So I was saying.
Fuck you. What was the white block of goo that Afghan woman was
supposed
wearing?
to be
Was that like
C4.
was that like
tuna?
Was that like explosive? I'm guessing like.
Yeah,
Tofu.
I think it's supposed to be C4.
Okay, it just looked like she just had like.
somehow.
Yeah, like some Comp B, I guess. And it was just
That
like,
was literally
dropped the
styrofoam.
RPG,
well,
in the
yes,
film?
I know that. Yes, it looked like melted
But what's it
styrofoam.
supposed
Yes.
to
I think that's it's supposed to be
Yeah.
C4 because they use it to blow up the rocks, which, God, I hated that.
Hey, here's the thing: is with that amount of C4,
Only
you
that
could
part?
do it, but it's directing the fucking explosion that they would not have that expertise on. You know, because that would have just gone.
Yeah,
Mike, stones.
yeah, it would have just been like pebbles right into
Right.
like who knows what would happen.
Stones are their expertise, though. Okay, they
Yeah.
beat men with
I
it
literally
constantly.
like that. The rocks could have.
Didn't you read the quote that was,
Yeah, did
a
you,
jar
read,
in
did
the
you
beginning?
read the off-centered quote? I mean, that scene could have happened, and like when they're at the top, it could have been like the boys like themed like girls get it done. Like I was just disgusted at that point. Like,
But it's
Brian,
girl
you
power.
never see the boys.
The girls get
Like-
girls get among themselves, and so it's girl power. Girl power.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
Afghanistan is known for that.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah.
say
so well. You're like, you don't, you've never seen
Strong
it, Brian.
female character.
Yeah, uncovered females. I was like,
There's a part where like he yells at them and
That's-
they kind of like go, like that or something.
One of the main reasons is this whole like Mujahideen insurgency got cooking against the communist government was they had compulsory atheist universal education for males and females, and that did not go over very well in the villages, as it still doesn't today.
Weird.
But yeah, in the 1980s, there goes Nate. One of the big reasons was they were forcing these like unheard of reforms upon rural Afghanistan that it was just totally not ready for. Hey, in this movie didn't care. How do I not sound misogynistic when I?
it's not misogynistic. It's a fact.
Just say what it is.
It's 1988,
it's yeah.
No, it's a fucking fact. Like don't worry about that. Like it's.
Oh, there's Nate.
I'm sorry, I had to.
The real
He
misogyny.
was so offended by the misogyny we were talking
Yeah,
about.
sorry. I'm sorry, Nathan. Yeah.
Sean, when you have a hang fire, do you jump out of the tank and run as far away as possible?
It's in a breach. Like it's in the
Isn't
container it's supposed to be in to direct the
I
shell
was-
away.
When I'm at the range and I have a hang fire in my bolt action rifle, I drop the gun,
rifle
I
and you
run
run
to my
down
car,
range to
I
get away
drive
from it,
away. And the range master calls me the next day and he says, "Oh, hey, I found your K98 here, brah."
Yeah.
I'm like, "It's fine."
It was just a
Yeah.
cook-off. I handled
It's
it.
in the safest place.
What the
It's in the
fuck?
safest place it could possibly be.
So with that,
It's only a danger if you're on the range.
I know that
because
you
then
just
kill people.
just eject the
But-
thing and throw it out the tank,
was-
and then you're.
I was
Oh my
wondering
God.
about that. I was like, it's in the fucking breach. Why does that matter?
It was so stupid.
also,
that's-
I was wondering too. I'm
Oh my
like, with
God.
your massive 7 rounds you have left on that M2 Dishka, when you said failure to fire, which is like, okay, I get that. Why not smoke the Mooj who are literally right there with your 7 rounds from your M2
Or-
Dishka?
Or the coaxial machine gun, which carries they have
Oh,
like
yeah.
4,000
Seem-
rounds.
yeah, I was
worth.
just gonna
this,
say,
this is the
had
movie.
a-
Like
That
the plot, it just
conveniently
conveniently forgets that exists until it has to use it for the final
Right.
So he
chase scene.
shoots like 1 billion rounds from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so why the fuck are you gonna bail out of your entire fucking vehicle with this shit and then not smoke the Mooj that are right fucking there?
it's once again we got to build that tension between the crew
The
and
other thing, too,
the Afghan and the crew.
They were so afraid of the RPG. The RPG, you could put a hole right through us, and I'm like, okay, if I was a Soviet tanker, I'd be a lot more worried about breaking down than a fucking RPG. Like, you know, like I know the mechanics that work on this shit, and you know that guy's a drunk.
Yeah.
So
they literally, the guy's
That's my
using
bigger worry.
the brake fluid to drink himself to get drunk.
to
That's
poison himself.
The poison, that's a thing. Like
It's recommended for
yeah,
liver health.
like-
It's recommended for liver health. The brake fluid.
that's I don't know. I wonder who they talked to, but that is a thing. Like filtering brake fluid and gas and shit, like through bread and into like that was a thing. That was how they made like
Oof.
pooch.
I was gonna say that.
It didn't end well. A lot of people got blinded from that.
I was
Weird.
about to say, like,
no.
tell me the validity
that
of
was,
like this moonshine that they're making in the movie.
Yeah, that's a real thing. They would make moonshine out of mysterious things because
Scuttlebutt top tip
in the
don't
yeah.
make
The 40th Army
moonshine
was
out
the
of
army
brake
that
fluid.
invaded Afghanistan. They made for the Afghan invasion, and like drug use was rampant. It was bad
Weird.
because you could get hash and heroin for pretty cheap for a Soviet soldier. You couldn't really get alcohol because they wanted to keep it dry, and obviously it's an Islamic nation. But you can get heroin. Don't worry about that.
Our Soviet Afghan vet said that he had friends that were in Afghanistan before he went, and they sent letters home with hash in it.
Yeah.
And they would just, get the letter and stuff. And he was like, oh, he smoked it while he was in country. And he goes, why would I smoke it again? I smoked the best stuff in the world. So, like, yeah, they all did it when they were there.
Everything that we brought up with this movie is just like would make a way more interesting movie than what this movie is. It's like
that's what always happens with all these shitty movies. It's like the actual ether around it is so much cooler than like what they chose.
I would love to see a movie about this war that we're talking about, because I've already learned a lot just from hearing Sean talk. But a movie about this war that's like kind of in the vein of Band of Brothers of the Pacific, where it starts at the very beginning and it goes all the way to the fucking end.
Yeah, you have 10 essentially, just 10 years of this war. It was stretched on, and it's almost like the same shit over and over and over again, like beat for beat, the same mistakes we made. It's incredibly fascinating. And if you're like into gear and shit like that, like the Soviet-Afghan War, it gets wacky. I mean, the shit the guys were using, it is insane.
Tropical canteens, sewed together rucksacks,
sewed
together ammunition pouches.
The only way you could survive with your rucksack was to drastically change your issued rucksacks. You could carry enough shit to live in the mountains. Like everything is customized. It's changed. It's like they were using captured chest rigs for their ammunition, and then they were getting guys to sew chest rigs out of different material. Like it's insane shit.
Sneakers.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad the Soviets used Polish WZ 6775 helmets as well.
Oh god, the brief moment that VDV paratrooper is on screen, my skin crawls.
You caught that too? You caught that too?
And then he's dead in the sun with like his gut is the most impressive thing.
I thought that too.
He bloated in the sun, but he's been there for like 5 minutes. Like,
yeah.
It must have been that Polish helmet. It must have been that Polish helmet.
It must have been the Polish helmet. Yeah,
too much Polish sausage.
So we've kind of gone over this movie, how much we think it's stupid and shit like that. The funny thing is, though, is that it seems like we've said like this movie today kind of has a following, like a cult following. Of a lot of people, like fucking like what do we say, the Chieftain, like this is his favorite movie.
Anyway, the worst thing I did, there were a few things I did like. And one of them was how they used the escape hatch so much. I think that was cool because that's a real tanker thing. You do use that a good deal, for things, or if you have to get in the tank. So that was interesting. That's a real tanker thing. Something that I also really liked was that what
I was saying, that's it.
The way you phrased it, it sounded like that was all you had to say.
I had to look at my notes. The only other thing I really liked about it was toward the end, where like the guy's using the coax to kill the other Russian tanker, and he's really trying to move the turret to kill him, and you don't ever see that. So it was really cool to like see somebody use the coax to try to like you're trying to kill someone with a little machine gun in a huge turret. So I thought that was really cool, just because the guy literally is like, shoot that guy. So I really like that. That was really neat because just like the violence of it. Because
he should have just mounted that fucker off the fucking turret and like jumped up out of the top of the turret, and that would have been so much more dramatic and better.
You should have thrown a like a fucking Molotov
Yes,
up the top.
yes.
I like the part
Yeah.
where the Mujahideen hide from the helicopter by covering themselves with blankets to hide on the ground. That's very cool. That's a cool touch.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was like,
Yep.
oh, yeah, that's a part of this movie I like. And then we moved on, and then we went to the, and we got to the end.
Oh, the booby trap round. That was
Booby
interesting.
chop round, yeah. I like how much the
I like how
commander
the guy's
swinging
arm got
around
lost. That was
in
kinda
the
cool.
in the cupola. There's parts that I like.
There was a cool tank shot where like you see the tank moving from the turret basket above. They didn't do that in Fury or anything. That was
it was interesting to see the inside. I had made a joke about how big it looked, but I'm actually genuinely curious if they had set up a set or if they cut open a tank to film in there, or if they actually were trying to squeeze in there. But my guess is that those things are so fucking small that you couldn't fit a camera in 88.
There's no way you could fit equipment in there. That was a set.
I mean, because
especially at the time,
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good for 80.
Looks okay,
for 88.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the insides of those things look like, but like Fury's impressive.
It's tight. I mean,
I know Brian made a comment about Fury and how he thinks it. I actually think that the inside of the tank in Fury is actually very well done. But
it is. But they use the biggest model of the Sherman, so
Well,
they get away with it. But like literally, put 5 guys in a Sherman with the equipment they would have had for 5 guys in a Sherman.
I can't even fit in the driver.
And, like, my asshole is in your
I can't
elbow.
even fit, and that's not even
you
because
know?
I'm overweight. I can't even fit into a fucking Sherman's driver's seat. Like it's just
a T-55 is small. Like the space you have in
'cause the
that is
profiles
like
are
essentially
smaller.
it's small. Like it's tight. Like take your office chair, like I'm sitting in. That's about the personal space you have. Is
dude,
this. And you're
it
fucking like that's why like I don't know why they have the Afghan guy. It's like how could he even fucking fit in there? Like it'd be with the loader. Like how?
Yeah.
Like where is this man? Where is this man crammed?
Isn't the position of what tank was it supposed to be, Sean?
It should be a T-62, which has an auto loader.
Okay.
Right? I'm 90% sure.
And so like
the T-55 is what they're in, and that had a person that would load
Right.
it. It's supposed to be the T-62 is really the one they used in Afghanistan.
Right.
Because the T-72 was out and the T-80 was out, but they're not sending the newest main battle tank to fucking Afghanistan to
Not numbers. They're
Not
just
the
going to
point.
send them there to test them and be like, oh, what's the shortcoming?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never ever seen a single photo of it. It's all T-62s.
Yep.
They this was not. They realized they were not going to get on tank fights in Afghanistan, so they sent the unimportant tanks anymore.
what would have been the capacity for that? Like, I mean, I know it varies, but I mean, like, I guess to the standard, I mean, would it be what 4 or 5?
12 men, 2 RPGs.
For the crewmen,
Yeah,
it's
for the crewmen.
it's driver, loader, gunner, commander.
Oh wow.
There's no
Okay.
coaxial machine gun for like almost. I'm pretty sure every Cold War tank like that. They did away with that position after World War II.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
okay.
no
a co-driver.
whole machine gunner. But yeah, then eventually Russian tanks with the T-62. They did away with a manual, like a person that would load the shell into the gun, and they had a machine that would do it. Which
Okay.
works fine every single time, as long as it doesn't break and you maintain it, nothing hits it. But a person could get tired. The machine doesn't get tired. It's a consistent load time every single time.
Right. Yeah.
IMFDB has some great coverage, not only on the guns but on the vehicles used. Should we do IMFDB now?
Yeah, we could jump into that. The last thing that I'll say about it is, so this film came out like 2 years after Come and See came out, and I do see a little bit of influence with it, mostly with the soundtrack, because there's one point where like the soundtrack is like that eerie engine noise thingy, and I don't know.
There's no way this douchebag watched fucking Come and See. What are you talking about?
I agree with you, Sean, but I don't know.
There's no way
There
the man
was-
who made Waterworld saw
There was
Come
just
and
that-
See.
there was
I'm sorry, I masturbate to come and see, but that's why the title it's titled that, Come and See, and I'm just sorry, I love it so much, but I'm gonna bring it up in every fucking chance I can.
There was this one transition that sounded like fucking engine noises. So again, that
They're
ominous
engine
whatever.
noises. Yes.
Yeah, but the way that if you heard it again and heard it the Come and See noise, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You'll never watch that movie.
It's
again.
also 3 years of the same era of the same 3 years of each other. The world isn't like never mind.
Come and Beast.
Kevin Beast.
Brian, you heard what you heard, and yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
We've spoken our opinion.
Yeah.
It's all
You
there,
guys have the
black
right to
and
be
white.
wrong.
You get nothing.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Where's Nate? Oh, I just see part of his.
Pleasuring
He's
himself.
throwing up.
He's coming and seeing.
We've broke. He's
been a
broken.
fucking long day.
He looks like Ted
I love Come and See.
Kaczynski.
I know that's
He
not
looks
the
like
popular
fucking
opinion
Ted
of this
Kaczynski
podcast,
right now. Let's be honest here. He looks exactly like with the glasses. Oh no, I'm not crazy. The government's crazy. The world is crazy.
Hey Nathan, what's the manifesto on your typewriter behind you?
How's your cabin
Why do you have all
feeling,
these
bud?
2-inch end caps? Yeah.
How's your cabin feeling? Is it heated?
Why do you know so much about the grenades and the cannon fuse? Speaking to my
Hey,
button.
Ted, I just want to let you know I know about MK Ultra and I'm gonna get justice for you.
Edited movies has been a disaster for mankind.
Dude, look at him. He looks just like fucking Ted Kaczynski. Look at him.
Nathan, you look beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate
Wow.
the compliment.
It's not your fault.
Ugh.
MK Ultra is a vicious fucking program.
Dude,
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
it's unfortunately it's not the first time someone's compared me to Ted Kaczynski in the look. So
Oh no.
Just
this
an
is-
appearance.
This
Just an
is not.
appearance,
This
trust me.
isn't. This
And it
isn't.
won't
This
be the
isn't the
last.
first or probably the last.
For all those listening, Nate is not like him. He just in certain facial hair growth
Just
stages.
no.
No,
single
no,
way
no. I
possible
have the
he is
look
like
and
him.
appearance. I have no belief if this of Ted Kaczynski.
No, but like
that's
but like,
blanket
it's certain-
statement that right now.
Dude, if your beard gets longer, you don't look like him. If it's not there, you don't look like him. But right now, with the glasses and the length of your beard and your shitty goatee and mustache, it's
No, I look like Ted Kaczynski when he gets out of the cabin with the beard when I
Hey,
have
Mike.
my beard. That's what everyone
Mike,
compares
you just got a
me to that.
package from Ted. Wow.
Oh shit!
So
You just
I
sent me a
am
package.
FTV.
I'll be back in a bit, guys. Yeah,
Let's have an unboxing video.
live. We'll do it live. Yes.
Who's opening the IMDb?
I'll do it.
gadget?
Yes.
That's a Nate job.
Do it.
I'm not ready for this. It's been a long week.
We got to do it, man. We got to do it.
It's been a long week, dude.
Brian, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
What day is it? What? Right on.
Hump day, Wednesday.
What
It's
do you guess?
Wednesday, my dudes.
It's Wednesday.
Nate, have you pooped today?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Nice.
I'm trying to.
No, it's good.
I'm sitting on IMDb. I can't even like type.
I'm
just
asking
looking
about your colonic health.
There we
For
go.
fuck's sake.
Yeah,
Somebody log into Nathan's,
I got it. I got it.
.com.
I got it. That's,
Fucking playing cards.
Oh, I'm just shuffling.
that's
He's gonna go work at
That's
a
great.
casino.
That's great audio texture for me to edit out. Thanks.
Sorry,
Fucking
Nate.
Jesus
I don't
Christ.
do anymore. I didn't think about that. I only
Well,
did it
I've been
once.
talking. I've just been
So,
playing.
what I really think about the
Texas
movie
20
is-
yeah. Fucking hell.
I just
That's
did it,
staying
dude.
in.
No, I wasn't doing it while I was
Okay,
talking
okay,
the whole
okay,
time.
okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
It's like the Forrest Gump Vietnam comment. Well, what I really think about Vietnam is goddamn pigs all the
Yeah.
wires.
Yeah.
All right, so Nathaniel has pulled up IMFDB.
Oh, finally. There we go.
We didn't do this the last
Jesus.
time I was on. We did a.
Beast of War,
Because we
comma,
couldn't.
the.
Wow,
What the
look, they're
fuck?
using a
It's
a
very
forged
Arby spelling.
sword and a
Yeah.
forged sword. There we go.
The movie
Jesus
was just called
Christ.
Beast.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was
It's-
just.
well, yeah, there's like two titles for this. It's like the Beast or the Beast of War.
Yeah. Beast of War, comma.
This
small
whole thing
comma.
just gets even more fucked.
Tank.
Oh, he's really modified. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's go down.
So.
Makarov.
PM.
Oh, I thought he had a TT when he shot.
No, he pulled a TT on him.
yeah.
We'll probably find that out. But like, no, the Makarov is in here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I thought he-
Pistol.
I thought it was a TT.
Not in
cool.
this scene.
Well, yeah,
Not
yeah,
in this
fuck that
scene.
one up.
Not in this scene. It's earlier.
That
That's Taj. It's not him. It's not him. It's the other
looks
guy, Taj.
like a TT.
That's not. No, that's a
Yes.
Makarov.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too small.
It's
It's
Makarov.
the barrel's too short.
Yeah, you guys will know the scene. This is not Taj, by the way. This is Mustafa.
That's yeah.
Yeah. So Taj is the one that pulls the TTC on Mustafa earlier on.
I didn't know Tosh.0 was in there.
Shut the
That's
fuck
where
up.
he
Taj Taj, you illiterate fuck.
So quick pulls the Makarov out of the holster. That's fuck. They're in their
Do they
tight.
have Makarovs at Stalingrad?
Yes.
That's how we do.
All of them.
He dropped down
All
on a line on top of the tank and domed each
So,
one
but
in
the
the
show right
face.
now is a TTC. They're like, Tokarev, TT-33. It's like, yes, that's the TTC, though, which is fine, which that's what he's been using. But it's not a TT-33. Jesus Christ. Anyway, go down. Yeah, so that's the scene I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
So Taj.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
you know,
the bandoliers are too small, so that's
but
why
the
they're-
scene-
No, they're not too small. That's
Oh, so they're just being
the 1905
Did they
mounted
literally
bandolier.
stick them?
Yeah.
I didn't never knew that the rounds came through
Yeah,
the
look.
bottom of that.
Yeah, look, they're not supposed to.
The rounds are coming through the bottom.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
coming,
I know, but they
well,
get worn out. But like those are British bandoliers. Yeah,
But that's a thing, or is that just because they're worn out?
I don't know if
that's
it's a
done on
thing
purpose.
or Yeah, they were supposed to be enclosed, but like I think they're just so fucking
The thing
worn.
is, they're all different. They're all coming out at different lengths. I don't think that's the thing.
No. I'm saying it's a thing,
That's
but
the
like
problem.
as they're worn and like they're just worn.
Oh, they're even
with
here
the
on here.
dryness.
All of
Yeah.
them are like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're here. I
it took you a
well, I
minute to
didn't know it
notice
was
that?
on fucking Rambo
It
Mustafa.
looks more like
I
a
thought
Star
it was
Wars
the other
prop
one.
with that than it
Yeah.
does a fucking.
Yeah.
But-
But-
nope, don't go that direction. Nope.
Oh, what
Look
a
at
what
my
a
aviators.
what a great shot that one is. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. What medals are those, Sean?
Those are supposed to be the medals he collected from Soviet
Yeah.
officers.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
a
You always
better-
wear your medals in the
I think
field.
it's a better
I would.
He's
If I
got a guards badge on.
if I was a
commander
fucking
there.
insurgent, I'd be collecting shit like that. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, one
You
of them
got
is
that in
like
Mongolia.
one of them is like the Order of the Red Banner. one of
Yeah,
them
the-
looks
the
like. I mean, yeah,
jack
but
off.
why the fuck would you wear them in the fields? Why would he fucking have them?
One of them is hero of the
Yeah, right.
Soviet Union. Yeah.
So
The
I
highest
disagree with
decoration.
this
Which
because
is like the most boring looking.
He's the
medal
guy
they
that
have,
put the
by the
poison
way.
in the Coke.
let's go down into this one because I disagree with this. What they say here, I think that's a fucking Mark 6 that he has. Oh no, it's a fucking Mark 2. Jesus Christ.
You're
Or
fucking
number-
wrong.
number
I
two,
love
rather.
how he had that. Okay, another part I like about that movie, how the kid just has a fucking pistol. That's
And
it.
he
What
was
the hell is that gonna do against a tank that's like way the fuck?
Right,
300
that's
Brian,
like-
have you
yards
it's
away?
seen
Yeah.
Have you seen the Martini Henrys they turned into pistols?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
What?
Not good.
Yeah, I gotta find that
like
photo.
almost like they
it's-
almost look like Winchester carbines.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cut them down to a.
It's like an Obres,
pistol, but it's
basically.
a-
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
like
fucking
Obres
it's
Martini.
a Martini Henry.
Oh, wow.
Like the-
That's
How'd you break your hand, Hamir? Well, whoops.
The AKS 47.
So do they have the folding stocks because they're in a vehicle?
Yes.
yes.
yes,
That was the idea. Yeah.
which they did. Yeah, they were issued with tanks. I
Yep.
believe
Paratroopers and
the
tanks.
commander or the
Yep.
loader would have had it because if the tank gets hit, you're supposed to bail out and cover the rest of the guys with the AK. Whoever gets out of the tank first. I believe it's with the loader has it on his side in the on Soviet tanks.
It's funny. I've seen
Where's
this
that
guy
gun?
in so many movies. The
Tons of stuff from
Yeah,
the
he was.
80s.
Yeah.
He's pretty famous.
Well, then
yeah.
there's a young Stephen Baldwin too in this.
Mhm.
huh?
Yeah, this the blonde dude in the
No
this young
way.
Stephen Baldwin.
Well, then why does it fucking?
I
say Stephen
get.
Ball?
Thank you, Brian. Fucking.
He's just a little blown
I
away right now.
know that my brain is also mush. Okay. All right.
That's a pre-existing condition.
Oh, I didn't know that was Stephen Baldwin.
That's
Even
one
though
of his
Stephen
first
Baldwin's there, I
Stephen
know
Baldwin.
that.
I looked down for a moment when we're on the Stephen
Oh, I
Baldwin
forgot
page.
you.
What
I'm
happened?
sorry, I forgot you guys can see my screen. Fuck.
Yeah, no, that's the blonde guy is the young guy is Stephen Baldwin.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Huh.
Yeah. Brian, did you get that? It's Stephen Baldwin.
Oh, I knew way before you did.
Okay, all right, okay. I didn't know if you knew.
I got a bit more
Okay,
brain
yeah, I
cells.
didn't- I
than
didn't
at
know
the
if you
moment,
knew.
so,
Yeah, you got to blame the thin up here.
Yeah. Between the eyes. Yeah.
So I was
Trailer
gonna
Park
I was
Boys.
gonna ask about this. Like, are these all like fucking adapters on the ends of these guns?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
way too like
Trivia.
forward, yeah.
There's just a really cool muzzle brake.
I thought there was a Type 56. I guess I was wrong.
That almost looks like an adapter to screw like a rifle grenade on or something.
It's funny.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
the
little-
AK,
you
the
see these
AKM has got a
adapters, it means they
threaded
shot it
fucking
in,
barrel to like use muzzle devices, but yeah, it's number one Mark III star. Even though
whenever
it's an
I
issue
wake up,
4.
I have my tea and I, wipe down my end. So that's the beginning of my day.
It is interesting to see like
I like
even,
the car
you know,
chair
guys-
here.
That is awesome. I never noticed that.
It's a car chase.
That's so awesome.
Out of a Buick
Yeah.
Exploder.
That's an awesome prop. It is kind of interesting to see like with these types of things where you see like AK-47s and stuff, but then you also see like muskets and shit. Like holy fuck.
Oh yeah,
You
the
st-
Giselles.
You'll
What's the
still,
name?
they,
Yeah.
they still
Giselle,
come
yeah.
out there. Like you'll still find them.
Yeah,
out there.
that was your grandfather's rifle getting handed down like that. They're pretty common.
Sean had a
Great-grandfather.
Martini Henry that was all,
It was all
doctored
I had
up. It was a
Micah
bring back.
pressed into it.
Mhm.
But yeah, they love to customize their shit.
So
Now you
Love
broke in
to
two
do it.
rifles.
what does he take from the infield to fix the RPG?
It's
The
it's
sight spring.
It's a
Leaf
sight
spring.
spring. A leaf spring. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a good thing he knew that.
It's not gonna.
It's a good
fight
fit. It
fucking
fit
work.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the IMI Roma. Yeah.
With the
No.
Afghani screwdriver. Yeah.
I don't know how they broke a fucking RPG. Like it's you really hit it.
They smashed it against a rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the heavy barrel.
That's-
This is
that's a big
Yeah.
big old thing.
I like the thing hanging off it though.
What, the tassel thing? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the handle?
the
Are you talking
little
about the handle? Or are you
customization.
talking about this?
No, no.
It's
the
like
little
with
the
tassels.
spin on the
The
sling.
tassels.
Then you should go
It's
to
so
the Middle
beautiful.
East, Brian. Yeah.
Brian's getting all
Little
emotional
Afghan
and said it.
Get all
yeah.
Gucci.
That thing looks gnarly.
It's
like I
you know,
could,
Killed the
Before
fuck
they
out of a
turn it
lot
into
of.
tank grease.
Yeah, looks like I could break it if I hit it against my knee.
Those,
Yeah, well,
I'm
those,
sure I
those,
could.
How many Giselles do you happen to hit?
Yeah,
against your
those-
knee?
No, I'm just saying.
and Mike takes
that
an
what you do in
interest in
Idaho?
demilitarizing the Afghans. Breaks all their stuff.
It just looks flimsy.
One
Now-
village at a
it
time.
just-
now you're going to
Just
meet
from-
the knee now.
It just looks flimsy to me, but
My name's the Kraken.
My
I'm
name's
just
the
saying.
Quacker. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
It look- yeah.
They killed
I-
a shitload of fucking
no,
Soviets. in these
I know
fucking
that
things.
just like from just first glance. That's what I'm saying. Like that
Yeah,
just
it's a
looks
Middle Eastern musket basically in general, and
Yeah.
goddamn, if you're proficient with those things,
It's like an Ottoman.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
getting hit. It's like
Well, wasn't
it's like
Giselle-
they're probably
Sean-
a 50. I'm guessing they probably would be like the black musk or the black powder muskets we have here, where it's like
What?
it's like 50 cal and up in size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
What
like
was
a
the
58
term?
caliber
The-
ball. Like
It was the Janissaries, right? That was the core of the Ottomans that were the converted Christians that were like
Yes.
the crazy warriors,
for
right?
for a while, and
So-
then they became a.
But so the Giselle has
else.
nothing to do with that then.
Yeah, it's
But
just
I
that's
thought- I
just
thought-
that's just you see muskets like early muskets in the 1600s. Something
Yeah.
they were cut. They had like weird fucking stock shapes. Arquebuses. I'm probably
Mhm.
butchering that name, but
Yeah.
they have those wacky stocks like that.
Mhm.
And, you know, they also were supposed to have a monopod you put in to fire it off of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Oh,
if
that's
you
right,
go
yeah.
into like here in Baltimore, there's the Walters Museum, and they have like a huge like firearm collection, mainly from the 1900s back,
Yeah.
and they have a whole bunch of the Middle East black powder firearms. And it's crazy to see the designs and the stuff of all that whole era of just wacky stocks and woodwork and inlays, and it's insane.
And do people steal those muskets all the time too? I'm sorry. Sorry if you're from
What is
Baltimore.
the yeah?
Yeah, what's the turnaround rate on those muskets on the street?
it just looks like a stick.
4 dead in a Honda because the Giselle blew
Yeah.
up in the car.
Oh,
Russian
that's what that
Giselle.
was. I didn't even see that.
SVD,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, SVD.
Yeah.
Right, with the bloated Polish.
I,
No,
what
that's
does it
this
say
guy,
this
I think.
this
No, it was that
machine
guy.
gun is?
That's one of
That's
the 50s.
Yeah, that's the fat VDV
That's
trooper.
that's a 50 converted into like a Soviet gun. Because there's
Oh
a
yeah,
50
it's
right there.
it's an M2 dish cut.
Okay, it's one of those deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Look at his gut.
I thought he was just supposed to be fat. I didn't think it was.
No, look at that.
You probably went the night before drinking a little bit too much and had some fucking shit.
They're
and was
like, you're not
"I'm-
even gonna say anything in this scene.
Too
Don't
much
I'm
worry."
bloated.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that's a dummy. I don't think that's a real guy.
He actually ruptured his hernia
Yeah.
right before the scene, so you know they were like, just sleep
I'm
it
sure
off.
that's a
You'll be
that's
okay.
a mannequin. That's
No,
probably not a real.
No, that was a
actor.
real person.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's Yevgeny. It's the
I'm-
son
I'm-
of the
Most
producer.
movies
He wants a
they'll
role.
use they'll use that prop dead bodies, not actual like.
Well, like the
actors for
thing is
those.
like that's not that
Well,
was a real
that's
dude.
the lesson we learned.
Well, that looks like a guy, yeah, but the guy laying in
Yeah.
the baking sun, yeah, that looks.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
That's
guessing
also a
that's
WZ-50 helmet. I stand corrected.
Ugh.
Anyway, for
Also-
the nerds that are listening,
Ugh.
So go
Mike.
ahead.
Mike, you are no longer the helmet aficionado.
Yeah.
I disown you.
Slightly
Yeah.
different from the 16.
Oh no, it's a lot different. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh wait, is that no? It's not continuity. It's different places.
There's a lot of continuity issues, but I'm not going to bitch about
Yeah.
that. The RPD, yeah.
Yeah, RPD, SGMT, and
SGMT.
Oh,
I like how the tank does get fucked up more and more as the movie goes on.
That part where he tells them to get back in the tank is so fucking stupid.
I know, right?
It's like,
So it is a.
We'll call
is it
an
an M2?
airstrike.
Oh, fake Dushka Browning M2 heavy barrel. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, gee, I never would have guessed
Fake
that.
disc.
That's an actual Dushka, right?
It's actually a
Scroll
douche.
down. They'll have
Now
to-
let's see Paul Walker's disc.
No, they'll have the electrical taped one down below.
Yep, that's an actual one. So like, scroll down. Nathaniel Hawthorne, please scroll down.
Fucking Sean.
Sorry.
fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, see, there's the tape.
Oh my god, you're right. It
Oh,
does.
God,
Wow.
yeah. I didn't notice the tape the first
Yeah.
time.
Oh, I noticed that immediately. I was like, there's electrical tape over the fucking
Duct tape
receiver.
this
It's
shit.
beautiful. Yeah,
Is that to hide the vent holes? I guess.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
It's over the
Nice,
front of the
vent holes.
receiver. Yeah,
We just look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
really bad shroud that they put over it.
yeah. It's like fucking PVC pipe. They're like, well, is this gonna melt? with blank?
it's funny because then we have from many wars ago we have that whole like 30 minutes of us diving headlong into the retrofitted 30
Yeah,
cal.
Yeah, the
There's
shore
no
slow
mystery
set,
with
yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's just fucking.
Mosh Podge.
It's so
yeah.
obvious. Yeah.
You know,
My
for some
God.
reason, like I see that in more movies than anything when it comes to like guns filling in for the roles. Where I don't think I've ever seen like an actual Dushka in a movie before. I've always seen M2.
They're very rare.
Yeah.
M2s.
Well,
made
they're,
up to
very
look
rare.
I
like
think
them.
they're very rare in the states mainly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know this was filmed in.
They sent him out to everyone, but I mean, I don't know if people can also get 51mm blanks.
Oh no, you
Well,
can
a lot
get
of our
you can,
sleeves
you can get the
50
live
Listen, I hope I'm
rounds.
wrong.
You can get the live rounds and then make them into blanks, but like they're expensive. You know, they're like $2 a
That's
round.
cheap.
Yeah. So it's just like, who gives a fuck? Just put something on it that looks Russian.
It's a real dish. Oh, look how huge that is.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
It's like 4 feet longer than a real
Yeah.
one.
Oh, for
Holy
sure.
shit. I never realized how
That is
long
right,
it was.
yeah.
until
that
I
is
saw
like
that
a Star
perspective.
Wars gun. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
it doesn't look that stupidly
and then
long.
yeah, they
until
run
you
out of
see it from the
ammo and
top.
conveniently weren't carrying any other around
Okay.
them.
I respect
Yeah.
this movie a little more now for them like hiding the fact that the gun barrel was 47 feet long.
You didn't catch that in the movie? Like, oh.
No, I
No,
didn't
like,
either.
I was like, oh,
I
Oh,
didn't
I
either.
fucking did. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's even too long for a fucking M2 or a Dushka.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's competing with the length
It's like-
of the
it's-
tank cannon. Like,
And this, I love the fucking M2A1 fucking ammo can. You know, it's like that's very Russian.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
good stuff.
yeah,
Sean, you have a Dishka can.
yeah. I have an Iraqi Dishka can
Yeah.
that's my go-to range can.
Oh, is that?
They're very
Oh,
different.
isn't
from the
isn't
50.
that the can that you like took with like the full cadre of pictures that you had? I was wondering what that was. That was really cool. You sent a photo from the range and I saw the can and I was very curious. What
Yeah,
that was.
that's the
Yeah,
can I bring to the
Yeah,
range. Is
that's
a
cool.
the Iraqi Dishka
Yeah.
can.
The
Now,
Repug
They're
7.
very distinct looking, and they are very different from a 50 cal can.
now, unlike
The
the
rep-
Dushka, though, the RPG seems to be like so ubiquitous in movies. They must have made like billions of those things.
They
They
made
did.
like 9
Yeah.
million.
Yeah, so like
I
that.
think
I
it's-
mean,
You can
yeah,
buy
anytime-
one. You can buy
It's a
one
7
for
too.
about. Well, you can buy an RPG2 for like $400.
They shot up in price now.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
no,
like,
they're like
about-
800 now.
about
These show up in
Yeah.
movies
Really?
all the time.
Fuck.
Yeah, they're like 800 bucks
Yeah,
I
now.
want an
they doubled.
RPG7 really bad for a wall, but I'm like, it's literally
Same,
yeah.
$800, $900 now for a wall.
After rep, no, it's about 1,200 for a wall
Yeah.
now. Like,
You want to show up at the range with that, Nate? Jesus Christ.
after
No,
Revolution-
no, that'd be great. That'd be great to show. Be like, hey guys, how's it going? Nice weather today.
Hey.
Like, load it in, twist it. Yeah, you know.
Is that a
Hey, look, there's
Springfield?
more
Yes,
car-
that's spring.
As long as you don't do rapid fire with it, that's okay.
Is that one of those Tupperware?
It's called a Repug. It's fine.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah. That mosque would definitely come down with one RPG round, and they're not built tough.
The prayer
like
tower,
that.
yeah, that would definitely.
They can put a hole right
And
through
also,
it.
RPG explodes. It's an HE round, right? It's not a fucking shape charge.
Yeah.
So that's good.
This movie begs to differ, Mike. Come on.
Look what I
Look
found.
what I stole.
Destroy the Russians with this.
That's literally like your
It's dangerous to go
that's,
alone.
Yeah,
Take
that's
this.
literally like a sword in the stone.
The holy
thing,
hand grenade.
Yeah.
It's a
Ugh.
broken RPG, and of course she's handing it to him.
I hid it in my dress.
And he's like, what the fuck? Pop! I got says whoops in the description.
Whoops.
Or oops. It says oops in the description. Nothing.
1956. Woo!
Nice big USSR star right there.
It's Tula, yeah. It's not the USSR star. It's the arsenal that
it's
made
the
it.
manufacturer, which just conveniently just so happened to be a star.
Yep.
Yeah.
you
Worked
should
out
have-
great.
There's
Yeah.
the rubber
Star or
warhead.
triangle.
Yep. Nice foam round.
It's an obvious rubber warhead.
Look at the seam.
It's
No,
the
no,
same
I'm
type
reading
used
the-
in films like Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the
That
Crystal
looks,
Skull.
that looks like a foam.
Oh.
I mean, that looks like a foam football.
Yeah,
You know?
that's why.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It says
Yeah.
Nerf.
Well, he had to throw it
Hey,
about
hey,
75
hey,
yards.
hey, Mike A, Nerf or nothing. All right, come on.
Yeah,
If
please.
Nerf made those things, I'd buy them.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Catch.
Nerf's Middle Eastern division, you know,
Uh,
for the makers of the RPG 1. Or,
Oh,
or
the,
two,
yeah, the
come
B10.
RPG 7.
Yeah.
That was
That
cool.
worked out well.
Sean, remember
Yeah.
when we used one of those in squad?
Remember when it recoiled?
Why'd I kill my driver? Fuck.
Why did the village just have this, by the way?
To defend them.
It's
Doesn't
just
every
yeah,
Afghan
every
village
Afghan
have
village
one?
has
Yeah.
recorded. That's not the first thing
There's
the
the
Mujahideen
Chinese,
take into the
yeah.
hills for themselves. So like,
No.
they just gotta line around. Like,
brave
Yeah.
Mujahideen
My,
fighters.
my Afghan village had 2 growing.
Prop flamethrower. It just looks like a hose with a trigger on it. Like, look at that.
Yeah, it is an M2.
It's just spraying out. shit.
Now, Sean, didn't they have like some crazy handheld flamethrower?
you're thinking of the RPO Shamel, I believe is the word. That is a thermobaric rocket launcher. Essentially, it's called a flamethrower. It's
But
classified as
shoulder
it's
fired, right?
it's essentially a one-time use shoulder fired rocket launcher. But it fires a 122 millimeter thermobaric round. Like, it's a fucking massive explosion for this teeny little thing.
So you're supposed to use those against what, goats?
Yeah,
Mosques, I'm
if
guessing?
you're taking fire from an Afghan hut, why not bring that up and blow the whole fucking hut up? Like, there's a they brought those up and they
And the
used those a
village.
lot in Chechnya and Grozny. We're like, oh, taking fire from the floor, I got it. Like, essentially a fucking artillery shell in a rocket launcher.
I have an exterminator tool.
Flamethrower, man. That didn't mean cool.
I like it says
The
they had
Chechens hate him for this
actually
one
wasted
simple
all
trick.
the ammo on a herd of deer.
Yeah, all of it. Huh?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Never see it again.
Where are the tanks and the pressurized system in the top of the turret cupola? You know.
That's one hand grenade.
We've already talked about these. Yep.
There's your
that
there's your
that the
styrofoam.
PE?
Yeah.
A block of
It's
plastic.
the pound of cottage cheese. Yeah.
It just looks like fucking napkins.
No, you go back to the village.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It does have a spoon. Yeah,
How
I mean, I
are
knew
they-
I knew you
it's
were
the-
right, but it's like I've never seen it on film. Like they never ever showed the spoon. It's
See-
always like
See the
Yeah,
triangle
right there,
That's
yeah.
Idris.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very
So
sharp,
there's a little
that's what
hook
he
that
said.
goes into this the fuse right there, like in the top.
I like how like this whole thing of like him having to keep his head still was negated in like half
Yeah,
a second.
yeah, it
The
became
grenade just
nothing.
rolled off the rock.
We were like,
Oh my God.
well, we'll just have some dogs attack him and it kills the dogs.
And
I
and
hope
and,
you
and,
like
and
neck
the
pain.
Move along.
and the grenade will just roll off the rock, not get caught on your
Yeah.
shoulder.
That's why it's a round grenade, Sean,
Yeah.
because it rolls better.
Rules better.
Thankfully, not kill him.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank God
yeah.
none of that.
Oh, I
little
got dog
piece
blood in
that
my
little,
mouth.
Oh,
Also, he got bit by a dog, right? And that doesn't seem to come up later on in the
Yeah.
film.
I hope he likes
that'll be
rabies.
fun. Well, he
Well, at
returned
least,
to his home planet.
After the credits, they left him next to a tree and they said, "We'll let you know when the tank
at
explodes."
least with the
They left him
grenades in
behind.
this, you can't see the holes drilled into the bottom of them like you can in some other.
Yeah.
movies.
that's
yeah.
true.
They had that.
like longest
They
day.
had that
or
going for him.
There you go, Sean. You
They
won
had
the
that
trivia
going.
game.
T55
Yeah.
tank. I won. Yeah.
something. You won the trivia.
won the
game.
trivia game.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that
All
that
kneel
fume
before
extractor in the
ye.
middle is a dead giveaway.
So wait.
Yes.
It says it's T-67, but you said it wasn't a T-67.
So that is TI-67 is the Israeli designation for that. It's even painted Israeli colors. They didn't even bother to repaint it green, which I forgot to bring up.
I did like that. Oh yeah, you see the
Yeah.
license plate on it, by the way.
No.
Where
Remember
what's
the-
he?
Oh, right here.
the middle,
Oh
in the
yeah,
front glass
welded on
plate,
to the front.
and in
Yeah,
the
that's
back-
an Israeli thing.
Remember Kenny's half track?
Yeah,
had the numbers
that's
welded
yeah.
onto it?
I was
they
wondering-
Didn't even attempt.
I was wondering why that
Why
wasn't
is
in.
there?
I was
Why is there
wondering.
Hebrew on this tank?
Yeah, I was wondering why that wasn't in Cyrillic. So.
It's
Yeah.
I
There's
yeah.
also
I
on the
just
back of
forgot
it,
to
if you
show
look
the
very
gun.
closely,
Yeah,
it's on the bottom part of the like below that tube, which is like you have the bore brush and stuff in it in the back of the tank.
yeah, all that shit.
Where it's stored.
Yeah, it'll
But
be back
I
there
did
too.
like when they threw the track. I like that because you so rarely see that in movies or a
Yeah,
tank. Like,
Yeah,
It's
they
like
actually
still
they
moving.
turn
When
and
he
get it
floored it
stuck
and the
on
ta-
it.
the-
Yeah,
that
What are you
was
talking
cool.
about? Fury
I'll
did
give
it.
him that.
yeah.
Freaking.
Yeah.
That's the
suck
biggest
my nut.
complaint from takers that watch Fury. They're like, you have an engine in one track, you can drive. Like you have 100 feet, you can move. Just stand still. Okay, it's gonna work.
But woman got it
Anyway.
done, and they stopped him. Right.
Yeah.
David was slain, or Goliath was slain with one stone. Did you get the? Did you get the point?
Allah is so generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep, bro.
And then the tank drives away, and he
Whoa.
goes, "Allah, why have you forsaken us?"
Yeah, bruh.
I laughed so hard at that.
Why,
Allah? Why?
That's some of the. Yeah.
Yeah, the rocks fell on the
80s
tank, and I was like,
tropes.
fuck you. Like, you just know the woman are gonna be like, fuck you. Yeah. Then just,
Oh, they even put this at the.
historical perspective.
Should I read this out loud?
Read it in your most comical voice.
Okay. When The Beast of War was being filmed in 1987, released in 1988, the Russo-Afghan War was still ongoing and thus a topic of debate. But the quaint perception of the mountain tribes of Afghanistan as victims of Soviet oppression is now out of date. Views of Afghanistan, its people, and outer tribal areas have changed in recent years with the current U.S. involvement in the country and the radicalization of the mountain regions towards Islamic militants. An attempt to depict the Russian invasion, 1980 to 1988, as a mirror of the American action in Vietnam, 1965 to 1973, seems awkward and glosses over the real differences.
Yeah, just take your time reading that. Just go a little bit
Should that be the
slower next
disclaimer
time.
in front of this? In front
That's
of
why
the
I was like, I was like, and scroll up.
yeah. Yes, people. The common thing people love to say about the Soviet-Afghan War is like, oh, it was the Soviets' Vietnam, but
That's a quote.
It's-
That's a quote in Rambo 3,
that's-
by the
that's-
way. You're welcome.
yeah, it's literally the thing people love to say about it. Was what we wanted to say about it during this war going on. We don't have to say that anymore because we've now done the same thing in Afghanistan. The same thing has happened. Not the different.
Wow,
history
bring
doesn't
it
repeat
down,
itself, but
Sean.
it
Thank
often
you. Yeah.
the history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, is the Mark Twain quote. And looking at the Soviet-Afghan War and looking at our war in Afghanistan, it rhymes.
Hey, we lasted longer
It's-
though, brah.
We did last longer because we couldn't get embarrassed if the
Right.
same thing happened to us that happened to the Soviets.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
We perfected
it's
that
so
Puerto
stupid.
Rican pullout, so yeah, there you go.
I have to say,
Oh,
I do,
yeah, boy, did we.
I do, I don't know, kind of roll my eyes anytime a movie like this begins with like a quote from something. It's just like, just make your movie, okay? Don't
That's made you to go like, oh wow, the Afghans are really brutal. They'll fucking come
Right.
out and cut you to pieces if you're wounded.
It's like-
Also, like, what is the point of this movie?
don't
Like,
try
what's
to
the?
manipulate me with quotes that don't
Yeah.
mean anything. You know?
Don't you
so,
put Rudyard Kipling in my face?
Yeah.
407 years ago.
I'm baffled by what the movie is trying to say and what the point is I just don't get it at the end of the day.
It's just I don't know, man. It's just Russians are bad, and hey, look at this guy being a total asshole.
Look how insane he is. Tank boy.
Okay, can I say one thing? This movie seemed like 8 hours long to me. I don't know if that felt like that to anyone else, but like it seemed like when it was wrapping up, I looked at the bar and it was only halfway through. I was like, Jesus Christ! Even though it's only like an hour and 40 minutes, it seemed like really long to me. I don't know why. It just dragged so long.
The first half was pretty quick, and the second half was like, oh my god. Okay,
can the
I know
tank
what's gonna
break
happen.
down
Just
already?
Let's wrap
God,
it up.
You know.
Yeah. Once he gets tied to that rock, you're like, all right, I know what's gonna happen. Like, oh, when he was teaching him what the word for mercy and sanctuary is, you're like, boy, yep, all right, yep, they're gonna find him. They're gonna bring him in. He's gonna get revenge on him. There we go, end of movie. And that's where I stopped watching it the first time I watched this movie because I predicted the end.
And I'm gonna quote Sean. All right, I'm gonna head on out.
Yeah.
Which happens every time it gets debauchery in gaming sessions. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have that much to say about this movie other than it's 1980s. I hate to say that, but it's like,
is that excusable?
Well, I mean, like
it was the 80s.
I view it as, I don't know. I just watched it and I was entertained. I didn't watch it for the cinematography. I didn't watch it for the plot. I didn't watch it for anything other than just to be like filling my 2 hours of it being drawn out. And then you combine that with everything else. It's just, that was really what I got from it.
Porn.
Yeah. But even then it wasn't even that much tank porn.
That's true.
Like they were shooting at a bunch of people in an open desert. Cool.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like it's you're bashing your head with
like if they were fighting, like if they were fighting Afghan tanks, which isn't possible. That'd be somewhat entertaining, but it's just a bunch of guys getting I don't know. I feel like they did hint at using the terrain to their advantage, and they did do that, but they didn't do it enough to be engaging. And I think,
oh my god, no way! They did the dumbest shit possible by putting themselves in like these fucking valleys and shit. Like, you're a fucking retard if you go in there. Like,
no,
guys are.
No. I mean like the Moosh, as you call them, because I think
the Moosh. Okay, those guys did.
Yeah, like I feel like
I thought you were talking about the Russians, and I was like,
no. I mean, it's a dumbass squad leader who gets them into a dead end, and they're screwed the whole entire movie. No, that's normal. What I mean more,
you're beyond that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. What I mean, it's like if we could have seen more, guerrilla like tactics, or at least show emphasis on that, and not just Wolverines in the hills, because that's all it was. It would be more of an engaging movie in that sense, because everything else doesn't stand out to me. And again, it's just this is all of our opinions. I mean,
oh yeah,
people love this movie, and that's fine. Love the movie. I will probably end up watching it again. I'll never pay $4 ever again to watch it. But
it's a good move.
Yeah,
Tubi's your friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. I got lazy today.
Well, you paid the toll, so now you can.
Yeah.
You gotta pay the trolls toll if you're going to this boy's hole.
Yeah. I was gonna quote that. Mike beat me to it. No, damn it. Yeah, I mean, like, I paid the $4, so I can rip it to shreds. It is what it is. But you know what? It's not fucking Hyena Road. I didn't want to turn it off.
That's good. I kind of agree with you there. Anything like more the Mujahideen, like where they hide from the Soviet helicopter under the blanket, like more of that shit, not just them like sprinting as fast as they can around in the hills. Like,
right?
Yeah, they could fucking do that. They were tough motherfuckers, but I just more of that, like being able to melt it. Like Brian's name in this chat is Dushman, which like the nickname the Soviets gave them was Ghosts or Ghosts of the Mountain. It was like they called them Ghosts because they would literally just disappear, like they hadn't been there at all. They were able to just melt away into these mountains. More of that would have been cool, not marathon runners that are
not Gallipoli, not Mel Gibson.
Yeah, running around the hills of
Masada. An
RPG. Yeah,
that's
just
what I was thinking.
More of that.
That's what I was thinking during the final scene where they're chasing the tank. I was like, man, these guys like in the desert carrying these heavy ass weapons and shit. Like these guys are gonna get like
no way.
Exhausted.
Yeah, they're tough, but they're not. Yeah, they're not Superman.
Like, remember Chris said he was like fucking for the Outpost episodes. Like those guys shot their shit. Like they were fucking exhausted and had no ammunition by the time they got to the bottom of the mountain. So yeah, they just have no like logistics for that.
Yeah,
so
they're not-
they're good fighters for a bit of time, but like it's gonna take its toll. It's pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I as a historical context, I think the Mujahideen did an amazing feat taking on that kind of power. I mean,
Yeah.
guerrilla warfare. I mean, it is what it is. Same thing with Vietnam. I mean, same thing in Afghanistan. You get the people who know the land, and when you're heavily mechanized, you're fucked. And
it's the Soviet army that was built to fight on the plains and
Right.
cities of Europe, then found itself fighting a small insurgency. Like in Vietnam, you have the North Vietnamese army. Here, you don't even have that. It's just small groups of insurgents that are in the hills that
No, it's like the VC on
fire a couple
steroids.
pop shots at you, mine the road, and that's it. And what are you going to do? You're like the Soviet army is totally road bound until they, with Mi-24 helicopters, where a tactic they would do is just send helicopters to fly around. If you see somebody not where they're supposed to, blast them. And it's how they combated this is just they were just totally unready for it, and it's stretched on for so long for essentially nothing. Like every operation they did to finally drive out or open this road, they melted away when the Soviets said, "Okay, that's it. We secured the area. We're going back to our base." They just came back in the same shit and then repeat. It's
Sounds
and again
familiar.
Yes, stop me if you've heard this one before, because you don't have to go back in history to see it. You can literally go back to
go talk to
any
your
time.
uncle.
Yeah. Talk to anybody who went to Afghanistan, like in our war.
Your friend from college.
Yeah, like
Who's using the
you don't
GI
have to
Bill.
look back in the Wayback Machine to see it. You saw it already.
Yeah.
But this is where it really the modern world, almost the modern Middle East and our conflict, it all got started here in the Soviet-Afghan War. You can pretty effectively make that argument.
Yeah. The power vacuum that the Soviets caused allowed everything.
Yes.
To
Well, and it
in the
also like
same-
we
Bin
got so
Laden,
involved.
So many people got their.
People
start.
don't realize that like we were actually involved more than just supplying the weapons. I may know a person
All
who
of their-
was may have happened to be boots on ground in Afghanistan during the 80s with
I might know a guy that did that too.
And,
so I know what you're talking about.
trained them and supplied them and everything, and also was told that when the Russians leave, if you ever come and do this, you're next. So I may know somebody who experienced that and is a legit source, and that's what's so fucking funny because that actually came true, because that same source went back there 20 years or 25 years later, and it was true.
I forget which group it was, but there was a group that was they were assigned to that part of the world that did shit like that in the 80s.
Well, there's a lot of them.
Not
There was a
too
lot
many
of
guys
them.
did, but
It was a lot of them.
But I remember it was a specific, like fifth group. I know they did like South America and shit. But anyway,
But they also kind of
it's crazy.
Yes.
You got to teach these guys how to use Stinger somehow.
People talk up the Stinger missile, but they were able to pretty.
The blowpipes.
Blowpipes were shit. They were terrible.
That was the British version.
Yeah, the British version, which is like the dumbest looking weapon you've ever seen in your life. But that's like
giant...
that's where the Soviet helicopters with flares. That's why you always see them shooting flares off. If you ever look at footage, is to avoid the blowpipes. God, they look stupid. But the Stingers, they figured out
really big tube,
pretty
stuck
quickly,
in a really small tube.
Pretty quickly that's why you see helicopters. If you would go to look up footage of like Soviet-Afghan War, you would probably see like Mi-24s, the big attack helicopters, and the Mi-8s, which are the transport ones. They're flying so close to the mountains of the earth because that's how you counter a Stinger. A Stinger supposedly needs like a big, clear, open sky to be able to target this, and if you fly with the mountains all around you, close to the earth, it can't target you. That was, it's a big talk. It was a defective weapon, but the Russians were pretty quickly able to figure out how it worked, how to beat it. I think I've heard that like the West Germans lost more helicopters in 1 year for training than the Soviets did in Afghanistan. Like it's we make a lot of talk about our help, but it's all
interesting.
A lot of it is there's a lot of myths in this war, shall I say.
It's like how they stopped Blitzkrieg. Just hang around the tanks.
Yeah.
They can't use their Air Force. You know, like what problem solved.
It's hard to talk like kind of crazy about this subject because I mean for me personally
It's so recent.
yeah,
too,
it's like for me it's like I don't know that much about the historical thing context only from what I know from studying the not so recent Afghanistan war for us and for me trying to understand why the fuck we were in there to begin with. I mean the obvious put aside, just more of the historical context. So that's basically my knowledge of the whole entire conflict as a whole. And it's very hard to talk about it in the sense of just tons of knowledge for me personally. I again I think when we get off of World War II or for me I think it's pretty much World War II. Once I'm off World War II, I don't really have that much context to go off of most things because that's where I thrive in. And so it's very interesting to hear everyone's take on it, but it's also very hard for me to talk about that kind of conflict as a whole other than talking about guerrilla warfare and references to Vietnam, as you stated. Everyone likes to make that comparison. It's like
everyone loves to make that connection.
Yeah.
That's about what you learn about this war in the West. And today they kind of mention like, oh well, the Soviets got involved in Afghanistan and it was their Vietnam. It was just the same thing kind of happened to them, and it caused the downfall of the West, of the Soviet Union. Okay, moving along.
Yep.
It's never really studied like what these guys went through and shit because you did 2 years in Afghanistan if you were in the Soviet Army.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of thin. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a lot of if your son went to Afghanistan in the 40th Army, you were told like, oh, he's on a peacekeeping mission in Afghanistan. That's it. It's not a real war. And then sometimes he would show up
familiar.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. It's just a peacekeeping mission. We're gonna be we'll be out of there quick.
Why are we crossing a border?
Yeah, but if your son was killed in Afghanistan or your daughter, because some nurses were killed too, your Soviet officers showed up at your door with a coffin made out of zinc that was welded shut, and they said, "Sorry, your son died in Afghanistan. Goodbye." Like that's what happened to a lot of these guys.
Black
tulip flights, they called them. They were the guys that brought the dead out of Afghanistan. They lost like 15,000 soldiers, I believe is the number.
Why is that a Russian thing? I've heard that a lot, where they like seal you like in a zinc. They like weld you shut in a coffin. Like
they did that at Chernobyl too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All the bodies are radioactive. I couldn't tell you the real reason. I think it's just it could be just to prevent like diseases and decomposing and shit like that from, it's an easy foolproof coffin. They're just going to put you in there, seal it shut. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take to get back.
It's very cheap.
It's very cheap. You don't have to worry about anything getting out or anything like that.
It's easy to weld. They seal up their ammo cans until like the fucking 70s. They seal up their fucking ammo in zinc cans. They just spot weld it.
And I think
now it's sealed.
Yeah, and I think honestly the
here's your Sergey.
You hit it already, Mike, with it being cheap, and it's probably a very prevalent resource in Russia, and then also the fact that I personally feel like it's to avoid like your son died in Afghanistan, but we don't say how, yet bits of him are rattling around inside.
Yeah, like, that was some accounts you read. The mothers got back. They said when they went to bury it, you could hear parts moving around. You could hear like bits and pieces. Like, yep.
Yeah.
Did not die peacefully though. So peacekeeping mission.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Yeah.
Dimitri got blown up.
Their son was killed because you never saw the body.
Yeah.
It was welded up in this coffin. That was it. You never saw him. You never saw what remained of him. Like people were positive their son never died. Like how do I know? And you couldn't talk about this because the Soviet Union wouldn't let you talk about it. It's not a war. It's the peace. Until Glasnost started opening up in '85, like you couldn't talk about the war in Afghanistan because it wasn't a war. Now it's a very interesting thing what everybody involved went through. It's definitely worth your time to research.
I was gonna say, like, I think it's kind of stems kind of what you had brought up originally in Centurion, Sean. It's like it may not be the best launching point, because that was my next comment, was that there's not that many movies about the Afghanistan, the Soviet Afghanistan.
I think Ninth
War.
Company,
and that's a terrible movie.
I think there's a new one that came out. I haven't seen it yet. I for the life of me can't remember the fucking name. I think it's about them trying to find a down pilot. But there is another one out there. Ninth Company is
Trash.
it is what it is.
Well, didn't they show Ninth Company to like the original vets, and they were like,
Yes.
"This isn't what happened."
Yeah, maybe we'll.
I
do
don't
Ninth
want
Company.
Kung
Yeah,
Fu
We'll have to do that.
Ninth
Mujahideen.
Company's fine
Yeah.
until maybe it's okay until the battle starts.
crying in a field of
Yeah,
poppies.
yeah.
It's-
I guess my point is like, like every movie that we kind of say, well, we're not so kind of knowledgeable in all of us all together as a collaborative. I think it's always best to, if you're interested in the subject, research it for yourself. If you're interested, let this be the starting point that kind of starts you down that road. Because it is very important. At least I feel like knowing that history particularly is knowing it not to repeat it again. So
Yeah, things don't happen in a vacuum, so you gotta get a little bit of everything, shall I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we really beat everything to death with this film. Covered all the points we can make. So to sum it up, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Too much is going on. What they do show is pretty poorly executed, and it's very.
Do you want to try that word
1980s
again?
Cold War biased.
Thank you.
Executed.
Okay.
It's poorly executed, and it's just 80s Cold War biases and stuff. They do some good shots and stuff, but I don't know if it's worth a watch. I mean, it's better than what I expected, but I mean, it's definitely a movie. And
Or it's a movie.
yeah,
Good.
so that being said, I mean, I did like some things, so I will give it a little higher score than I usually would, but I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, it's yep.
I'll go.
Tank Man out.
I'll go.
Tank Boy.
Okay,
please.
Tank
Tank
Boy.
Boy,
Yeah, come on.
sorry.
I'll go next, Brian. But who was the guy's name? Was Nick P?
Yes, Mr. Nick P. Thank you very much for your suggestion. I'm very
man.
sorry that this is not what you wanted, but we tried to do this movie its justice. Like that's why we got Sean in here and stuff. And it's again just sometimes things don't work out, but we did really want
You
to.
thought we were gonna love this?
Again,
Better luck next time.
yeah.
Brian.
well, yeah, but we do. I go into every film thinking, just with a blank slate, and I try to go with no biases, and it's just this is the impression I got from this one. So sorry, but it just that's yeah. But opinions are like assholes, Everyone has one they stink, so you don't have to listen to us. But
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna kind of handle that as well. It's like thank you so much for reaching out, because I mean it's really cool that someone has listened to us and gone like, hey, I want their opinion on this. Like we're just a bunch of schmucks on fucking recording.
Right,
ourselves.
we're 5 nerds.
Don't let them know you're schmucks.
Yeah.
We're 5 fucking uber nerds.
Yeah.
And the fact that he values our opinions enough to hey, review one of my favorite movies and then
well, he did.
shit on it, kind of, I guess. Well, not really shit on it, but no, it is really cool, Nick. So yeah, we definitely do appreciate that. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say don't let us I would say with any movie, don't let our opinions weigh you from watching it.
Right.
Give it a watch, because you might think we're completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is that it's starting a conversation.
Nate's
yeah,
wrong
I'm
most of
I'm
the time
wrong
anyway,
3/4 of
so,
the time,
yeah.
and about 1/4 of the time I'm right.
Yeah.
So
That's a little low. Bump it up to
So
like
90. I was just gonna even.
look, Hyena Road will forever be cast into a fire
Standard
of fucking
deviation.
doom in the forever hell. And
Hyena Road was one of my favorites, so
Peter
I don't know why you
Gross,
shit on that.
Peter Gross should never make a fucking film ever in the history of the
Another
world.
movie-
Stop
Easy,
talking
easy, Nathan,
over me.
easy,
Stop
easy.
talking over me.
Remember your
I-
blood pressure.
Nate, you have to finish
No,
the movie.
no,
Calm
no,
down. Calm down.
no.
Yes, Mr. Squidward.
See, I
have
told you.
appreciated-
I told you he'd do it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Nate's the one fucking crying in the field of poppies now.
yeah. No, I just not Hyena Road. Got it. Okay.
Yes,
no,
Mr.
and
Krabs,
to, and
I
to
can
go,
feel it. I'm trying to calm you down.
I'm fine. I'm not even angry.
Yeah, that's how you know he's not fine.
What's
This-
your fucking rating, Nate? How about
I'm
that?
trying to get it out, and you fuckers keep making me laugh. So
I do keep interrupting you.
That's what
I
she said.
apologize. So get your
So-
fucking rating out.
So this movie, going into it, I mean, did I assume it probably wouldn't be my forte? Yeah, but I started it and I was like, okay, this is the kind of course we're going to go to, because you can tell within the first 10 minutes where it sides on, and that's fine. That is what it is. I think it was very much a product of its time. 1980s, very 1980s, very 1980s Western propaganda as well. I mean, we have to be fair on that. It is.
Oh yeah.
I understand that Soviet Union bad, and the Russians were pretty atrocious in Afghanistan. But you have to look at it in the sense of, I would much rather have watched a film about a non-biased, not exactly historical leaning, but just more or less bias in that terms of the message. I'd rather have less message in my war film. I would rather have human conflict and human engagement, not human engagement and conflict based on I don't know, just the cliche kind of plot. It was a little different, but it still ran the same course. You can, like Sean said earlier, you can predict it halfway through the movie what's going to happen and what's going down. And I get it. It's fine. But in terms of just everything, I mean, Brian kind of hinted it as well. It's like, nothing really stood out. It was interesting. It's a hell of a movie to have film with a tank and in that area. I'll give him that. Like, good or bad, that's an incredible feat. So, I mean, I think you have to give it some credit. But it just didn't really stick out to me. It just kind of felt like middle of the road for me. I give it a 5 out of 10 Screaming Mel Gibsons. I mean, it wasn't bad and it wasn't good, so I'm going to give it a 5. But that's just my interpretation because I don't know the history. I'm sure Sean's going to be like, this is a steaming pile of dog shit. So that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Sean, why don't you go next? Put you on the. There, is this steaming pile of dog shit?
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. For a lot of the reasons Brian said, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know what point it wants to make. Like, it starts off with Soviet troops committing this horrible atrocity, and then like it ends with women stoning an unarmed man to death. Like, I don't know what you want. Like, I don't know who. Like, there's no good people in the Soviet War. There's no good side in the Soviet-Afghan War. But this movie is just dumb is how I would describe it. Is the word that comes to mind. I mean,
get Sean's rating on the DVD cover of this, just one word: dumb, in quotes.
Dumb. It's just if this
Sean be a great one-word critic.
Dumb.
Yeah.
If
retarded.
Again, if you watch this film and you said, I want to learn more about this war, good on you. Maybe you'll learn that why this movie's not so great. This is kind of Western propaganda. It colors these conscripts, as almost everybody in the Soviet military was, as these horrible killers, and it's usually not the case. But I don't like this movie. I don't like it. You can predict it. It's just dumb. So 3 out of 10.
All right. Yeah. So kind of going off what Sean said, it's like again, we don't know what it's doing, what it's trying to say, and I don't know shit about this conflict. I know the macro level of shit, and I could still tell I'm like, you didn't do any research to this, like, or for this. You just like kind of put your preconceived notions on. Oh, here's how Soviets would act, and it's like you could have done a great fucking film about life in a tank in a war that very few people know about and or give a shit about. Instead, it's just this fucking wannabe drama, wannabe action film at points, cliche lines, cliche characters, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And it's just like it fell very short as far as what the potential could have been. Like I know we say that a lot, but it's like the plot was not terrible. Like, okay, a Soviet tank gets lost in Afghanistan in like the first year of the invasion or first year and a half. Okay, let's run with that. Instead, you just, and it's 1988. I get that. But yeah, I would have loved to see more of like the actual, interaction within the tank and like making it realistic and like, okay, well, here's the stress that we have to incur and not have the cliche asshole. I guess he was a sergeant because they kept calling him sir. I don't know how the Soviets would have called NCOs, but like whatever. Yeah, it just
it would have been comrade rank. Would have been how you would have addressed him.
and so his
Not-
rank,
not
'cause
sir,
he was
Sir is like a feudal thing if you want to get really Soviet.
right, but like so
comrade.
his epaulets were bare. They didn't have a stripe. They were not They were not officer epaulets. They had 2 stars on there, which is also enlisted, but like they had there was no officer rank on that, right? It was like a staff sergeant basically, right?
It's some for sergeant. The name I'm fucking forgetting right now. But
Yeah,
sergeant. It would have
something.
been
Yes,
Tovarich.
Tovarich, whatever. Whatever. So that was kind of weird too. Like this guy is like the supreme overlord, and they whatever. But anyway, I'll stop ranting. Overall, it was just very cliche, and again, it didn't go anywhere. It's like, okay, what are we doing? So I'm gonna. It was a disappointment. It really was, because I've heard such great things about it. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10 as well. Mike A.
Okay. Yeah. So I got it right from the start of this movie. I'm like, anytime there's a movie that's from the perspective of a military like engagement or whatever, and it's supposed to be, it's from the perspective of the bad guys, whether it's Germans in World War II or Americans in Vietnam, if you want to say that, or something, where it's like whenever it comes to depicting the bad guys, the protagonist is very sympathetic, but the one commanding everything is like a psychotic nut job. And that's how it is. That's what I remember, like the German movie Stalingrad was like that, where it's like the soldiers are like the salt of the earth, but the commander is a psycho. He's the bad one, That's why people see these guys as bad guys. And I got it right from the start of it. This movie just got that cliche. Again, it's casualties of war, but in a tank. And yeah, I knew right from the beginning. I was like, okay, I know where this is going. And I think I'm also just gonna kind of go down, just chop it in half and just say 5 out of 10 as well. I didn't think it was like. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just kind of like white bread. It's just kind of like, okay, it's whatever, it's forgettable. So, but yeah, 5 out of 10. Never gonna watch it again.
Till the day I die, from my cold dead.
I mean,
hand.
maybe if it's on TV, which I know it won't be because it's like an obscure movie. But
to quote Nate, who has TV anymore?
Yeah.
It is a true fact, yes.
So yes, putting the numbers into the Vietnam War computer that will tell us when the Vietnam War will end, it is a 4 out of 10. So middle of the road.
Above Hyena Road. Nick P,
yes,
if you want to gauge what we thought about, it's better than the Hyena Road, and that should be a huge thing. So there you go.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah, it's one of the better like Middle Eastern war films out there. I'll give it that. But it's not what it set out to be. Unfortunately,
it could have been more. I think like
could have been a lot better.
Yeah, it could have been better.
It's like I think we've all touched on it, and I've definitely touched on it. It's like I have to keep in the 1980s theme. I have to keep it in that box as well, because it's like I want this because that's what I want now. And so it's like I always it's very hard to judge this movie in that sense.
And just to bring it back, imagine like we were saying, a limited series set during this war, like Chernobyl.
It'd be I would literally pay whatever you would want to watch that.
Yeah. Yep. Call it like I'm Too Young to Die or something.
Because you can tell that would be something that people would want to watch, because look how good. I mean, Chernobyl aside in terms of the subject matter of Chernobyl, but it's like you can present that Soviet era world pretty well,
And just think about the depth of things, from brake fluid filtered through bread for alcohol to listening to Deep Purple as you rock out,
it's
so many
culture that
things.
is totally different than ours, and it's very fascinating.
Before we close this up, I have a beef to pick with Mike A. Did you just tell me that Stalingrad 1993 is bad? Okay, because I was gonna fight you if you said that was a bad movie. I would fight you here right then and now if you told me that was a bad movie.
The SFX is great.
I know. I get the point you made. Now that you said no, and I'm like, okay, you just mean like the cliche bad person and like that whole I do agree that is cliche. Yeah.
The trade wind pushed the storm out to sea. We're good.
Should I?
Sean. Sean's acting like he's about to challenge this. Would throw down the gauntlet, son.
Should I bring up the fact that I recommended many wars ago and you forgot about it, even though I
I publicly apologize. I publicly apologize.
Oh, so you just brought the fucking side quest boss from Vice City down to his fucking knees to publicly apologize to you for a film that you recommended that we watched and was not terrible. It was actually pretty good.
What did I apologize?
Something I'm never gonna let him forget.
What episode was that?
You literally just said
The Guadalcanal.
You literally just said I publicly apologize because
Guadalcanal.
Was it Guadalcanal?
Yeah.
Oh
that's
fuck!
the end
This
of it.
isn't gonna come out. This is gonna come out before Guadalcanal. Okay,
That's a
I
shame,
publicly apologize
to
Sean.
Now I don't care.
To Sean for not realizing that I was
Just
doing.
cut
the
it out
thing,
of that. Cut your apology out of that.
Yeah.
Let's just cut
I'll
this
just do
out.
that. Yeah.
fucking Eeyore Magoo up in this bitch.
Yeah.
Oh bother! I publicly apologize. I've got a cloud over myself, and it's been raining for decades.
My brain is mush. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know.
There we
All right. So we've got our fucking rating. We've got our fucking ratings.
What?
So,
who is unwrapping a whole entire Toblerone bar? What? Mike A. What are you eating?
Mike.
What are you eating, Mike A? Only you throw Starburst around like they're ice balls.
Oh, Fig Newtons are fucking balls.
sounded like a fucking claymore.
Literally, I need a minute. One more minute before you're just like. I'm okay.
One more time?
Okay, one more time.
Nate's fine.
One more time.
Nate's
Hold on.
fine.
One more time.
Nate, tell us how easy that it's been to edit all the sound in the cave.
No, I don't.
No, but
I'm just-
yeah,
I'm-
it's
I'm-
so
I'm-
fucking
I'm-
good.
So as I was
I'm
saying,
beating you
Nate,
up. It's fine.
with my
Yeah.
bag of chips. No.
All right.
But anyway,
Yeah, sorry.
so yeah, thanks for the request. And again, if you guys have anything you want us to do, just hit us up, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, Nick P,
So,
thanks. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
that,
We
yep.
might hate your suggestion, but we love the fact that you chimed in. So please, if you have another one that we want us to hopefully we don't trash on your next love movie.
yeah, as long as it's not Hyena Road, we should be
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So.
God.
Yeah. It's five nerds talking on a fucking podcast's thoughts. Doesn't mean it's the way it is.
I will say, I will
And-
say, if I think I said all right, but if anyone's interested, watch the fucking movie. Watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
then yeah,
Yep.
like it's all over the place. Oh, kinda. I had to pay for mine, but
No, it is all over the place. Like people either, from what I've experienced so far, people either love it or they hate it. And
Yeah.
I'm not on either one of those camps. I'm kind of in between.
same. Yeah, same with me.
So,
like
it's yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm giving it a 5 because I just didn't love it and I didn't hate it.
Right.
And I highly suggest people watch it. It's a movie. It's 2 hours of
Oh,
your
yeah.
life. You want to be entertained? I was entertained.
Confirmed.
Sean wasn't,
It
but
is a
I was
movie.
entertained. So it's yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there was a couple where it's like
No
don't waste your
no one
fucking
should
time.
watch Hyena Road, and Peter Grosz should never get any more of your fucking money. Never watch
I,
fucking Hyena Road.
I just watched the Netflix preview because it came up, and I was like, "Oh, that's that movie they didn't like." And the quote was like, 50% of the time, 100% of the work. 50% we get it wrong, which means 50% we get it right. And I was like, oh boy, I'm not watching that. Like, oh my God, they're right.
Run away.
All right, sorry, Brian, I derailed that. I was just trying to say thanks again to the guy that recommended this film. My bad.
Thank you, Nick.
He has a name, you know.
Yeah,
Thank
Nick.
you, Nick.
Yes, I know,
So,
Nick.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us again, Sean.
Yeah.
We hope to have you on again for any applicable subject. Probably with our subject, because you're a Roman and Russian expert, so we'll see what we can add.
Yeah.
You use that. You
So,
throw that term expert. Yeah. We'll
We'll
find
have you
another
next
movie
time to talk about
come
you know,
on.
the rhubarb or something.
We'll do Enemy at the Gates.
Yeah, we'll just.
Our rheumatism
Jesus
expert,
Christ,
Sean.
man.
So, you know. Anyway, yeah.
right.
So thanks, guys, and until next time.
I dedicate this
Later.
podcast to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan.
Jesus Christ.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon. All these links are in the description below. Until the next time, Scuttlebutt out.